Destructoid's End so that people know about it, and then I'll start the stream in a minute. There we go. So, it's been a while since I did one of these, but I want to get straight into it. It's been a while since I played this game as well. I've been absorbed into Doom recently, and other things like... It's been kind of interesting because I've been overwhelmed with a lot of things that I've wanted to do recently. Like, I've wanted to do a lot of different games. So, yeah, a lot's been going on. What I don't get is why is it kind of gone like this greyish colour. I don't understand why this has happened, but I don't know, but something's going on. In any case, I think we need to head... I think I'm going to have a look at the map, to be honest, because I have no idea where I'm supposed to go here. That'd be nice to put the sound up for me so I can actually listen to something. Turn the sound down a bit, but maybe I should turn it up a little bit more. Yeah, that'll be alright. I hope that people can still hear me, but that's what it was before, so, and I haven't played this game since I streamed it, which is going to change, so I am going to play more of this game soon, so that's something to bear in mind. But at the moment, I can't even get into the map. But what quests? What's the main quest I need to do? Resistance. Oh. Ah, right, I see now. That's where we need to go. So let's just transport to somewhere. I'm going to go to the village, because maybe do some questing to start off with. I like to do questing in this game. But yeah, there's a lot that's been going on. I finally got my PC sorted out. I've got my new Intel i5 6500.
Non-functioning transporters can result in serious limitations to data uploading and other vital mission activities. Recommend repairing transporter as quickly as possible.
Understood.
And more interference. But yeah, I got my new Intel i5 6500, and it's been working well for me so far. My computer seems to be a lot faster, but ultimately I've got my PC working. I've got my I had to get a new port cable for my USB port so I can screen cap on consoles, which I still need to wait for some splitters because my stream capping setup's pretty shit at the moment. I've spent hours trying to get screen caps for my next review that I'm doing, and I just haven't got enough. I need more screen caps. I can't just leave it at that. I still need more, so I'm going to still be screen capping and all that. Yeah, there really don't seem to be any quests around here. Oh, hang on, there is one. Why does it even matter? I thought that the Resistance were allies with the robots. So yeah, to the abandoned factory. Not the one in Painkiller. I almost wish it was. Don't know what this is. I think there's an item here, but I can't see it. Oh, there's something there. But yeah, what I need to do now is do this quest. And try and find these parts. But yeah, my computer's working fine aside from I need some splitters for my capture card. Because I think I don't know what is the problem, to be honest. I should try my capture card at some point, but not today. I thought I'd do a stream today, and I'll do the capture card later. That's current destination, but is that the one that we need? Right, what's the quest again? Let's have a look at what the quest is. I can barely even read that. But regardless, I'm going to do this one. It might not be the one that we need to do, but we'll find it. It'll be somewhere around here. And that's something else. Yeah, oh yeah, it was the abandoned factory, wasn't it? That's basically where we need to go, isn't it? Pretty much. Yep. So what we're going to do is go to the transporter. Yeah, how's it going? It's been a while since I did a stream. I know that much. But yeah, I was busy doing other things, like trying to get some screen caps for a review that I'm doing. And then I realised that my capture card screwed up on me, so I've had to get more splitters to sort that out. But other than that, yeah, that usually, like I said, that usually happens with streams. I get that problem as well. But yeah, I'm doing this again. Probably take a break from the stream of this and focus on just playing it afterwards. Because, well, I just want to put more focus into actually playing it without having to talk all the time on it, and also be able to listen to the music, because I need to pay attention to the music as well. I can't ignore that, and I can't really hear much when I'm streaming. So ultimately, I'm basically this is going to be the last stream. Well, I'm not streaming this game anymore. It's just that I'm not going. If I do stream this game again, then I'll be streaming it later.
What in the world? Help me out here.
Analysis.
Yeah, I think this is a different mission.
What's the data?
The data log has been irreparably damaged. Further analysis is impossible.
Yeah, that's not the way to go. This is the way to
Why do a bunch
go.
of machines have A2's data?
A2B? I'm picking up other reactions. We should check them out.
But yeah, there seems to be a lot that's been going on Destructoid recently. I don't really know what it's all about, but it seems to me that people are, and it's in general as well, like there's a lot of stuff going on regarding games journalism, and a lot of people seem to be giving up and a lot of people seem to be like getting really pissed off about it, and mainly because like a lot of people stopped blogging on Destructoid as well. Like, they just basically had enough of the constant grind for no return. And yeah, like I just think, well, I think the thing that's difficult is that I think a lot of people have more standards now. Like, I've noticed that it's more difficult to, like, the standards that a lot of Destructoid has, there's a lot more standards now, and I've noticed that. And people just don't want to maintain those standards, pretty much. Like, people don't want to invest much time blogging because there's just no return value. And when you're doing reviews especially, like, there's really not much return at all on reviews. Like, the only return you get is the return mainly of just helping people find out what games for them. That's usually what you get for reviews. But people just don't want to blog anymore. And I've noticed this for a while. Like, a lot of the bloggers that I used to read have just disappeared. A lot of people on Destructoid just seem to want to come and go these days. There's not really any reason to stay on the site for a lot of people. And ultimately it just seems pretty dark and gloomy for, like, the future of games journalism. Not that that's anything new, but it really does, like, especially with the independent people, the people who write all, like, the people who aren't IGN, GameSpot and Destructoid. Pretty much, like, I mean, a lot of people want to voice their ideas and stuff. That's what they want to do. And in a way, I would have thought that Destructoid was the reason why people do it in the first place, because of the social aspect. That's the main reason why I'm there. Like, it's like, I don't go on Destructoid because it's my only outlet. Like, I go there because of the social aspect. Otherwise, there's just no point. If there's no social aspect, what's the point? I might as well just continue blogging on my WordPress blog. Yeah, pretty much. Like, it's starting to diminish now. Like, a lot of the... I think it's just like a lot of bloggers have just disappeared off the face of the earth. And, like, there were a lot of bloggers that I used to look, like, read on Destructoid that were really, really good bloggers, and they just don't blog anymore. Like, they just don't. And it seems that a lot of people have just come and gone. All the people I used to know on Destructoid have just looked and left, and it's just, now there's different people in Destructoid now, and it's just like, it's not really the same site. And like, I saw something on the front page, and I thought it was pretty funny how, like, they were getting volunteers for weekends, and in a way it's just like, is this what games journalism has come to now? Like, people are so desperate to get their word out that they'll write for people like Destructoid and not even get paid for it. Is that what it's come to now? Like, it's just like, why the hell would you volunteer to write for Destructoid? Like, I just don't understand. It's just stupid. Like, if you're going to write for Destructoid, then you should at least be paid to do it. Especially if it's like, if you have to write their news articles and stuff, and you have to do things frequently, then that's basically a job. And I just think it's silly how they're just saying, like, we can't afford to hire people, so we need volunteers. And it's just like, it says a lot about the state of games journalism when people are just looking for people to write for free, like Crash Games and all this lot. Like, it's just like, is there really any value in blogging anymore? Like, I don't think that there really is in some cases. Like, really the value comes from the stuff that people talk about. But honestly, like, I'm starting to question whether blogging is like a decent platform anymore. Like, it just doesn't seem viable anymore in that respect. Not that that matters to me, but it does matter to some people. As I say, like, I think we can safely agree that the dream is over. Like, the dream of being a writer, be it a magazine writer or a internet writer, it's basically over now. Like, there's no more dream of I get to write about video games and do all this cool stuff, and really it's come to the point where it's starting to separate the men from the boys now. Like, it's no longer about writing. Do you want to write for money or like, that's what it is now. It's, do you want to write for money or do you want to write to write? That's what it is now. Like, if you want to write, then keep doing it. Like, I remember that blog that, or that quick post that Aricha Leona did, and like, giving up just simply because like you can't make a living out of it. And I get it. Like, I get that people have different have lives and busy lives and stuff, but like, if you really care about writing and you really care about doing what you do, then you don't just give up. Like, you keep doing it because it's what you do. Even if it's not viable, like you just got to continue doing what you enjoy doing. If you enjoy doing it, then I don't see why you shouldn't stop doing it. If you never enjoyed doing it, why did you do it in the first place? Like, this is what I don't understand. Like, I never started writing so that I could get paid to write. That's not the purpose of writing. Like, the purpose of writing for me was so I could share my viewpoints with the world. That's why I started doing it. And unfortunately for me, the writing that I tend to do doesn't really get much engagement.
Collation complete. The contained data is a debriefing report for the Pearl Harbor descent undertaken during the 14th Machine War.
No kidding.
That operation was carried out by the York generation that came before
I mean,
us.
I think we all want, deep down, we all want to be heard and seen, and that's technically what I want. But there's a group of people who just want the money, and it's just like, there's so many better ways to make money than games journalism. Like, it's not a viable career. It's not a career. Like, games journalism is not what I consider a career now. It's basically a hobby. Like, there's no value in games journalism. That, I'm just gonna say that right now. There is no value in it, unless you make content that is valuable or make topics that are valuable. Then there is no value, and I think that's what people seem to be missing. Like, they think, oh, if you talk about games and review games like random, when you're doing something valuable. It's not really that simple. You have to approach it in a way that is valuable to people, so much so that they'll actually spend their hard-earned money on you. I don't know where I'm going, by the way. Like, I'm assuming that I'm going the right way. I don't think I am, to be honest. Pretty much. Like, the thing that annoys me the most out of all of it is not the fact that I'm not making money, which I pretty much haven't made a penny, really. I think I might have done on, like, maybe made a penny on, I've forgotten what it is now, monetization, YouTube monetization, which I tested it out, which I can't be bothered with these days. Like, the only time I monetize on YouTube is if I make a video that has something that I think is valuable, and most of my videos aren't. But in a way, like, money is just a byproduct of success, in a way. That's what it is. It's not a goal that you strive to obtain. And I think people need to start forgetting about games journalism and stop looking at it as if it's a career, because it's not. It's not anymore. Like, that's what people need to stop thinking. Like, games journalism is a joke. That's what it is. It's either a joke or it's a hobby for enthusiasts. It's like train spotting. That is what games journalism is. It's basically a hobby that game enthusiasts do. It's the equivalent of train spotting. It's like train spotting isn't a career; it's something that you do in your spare time. That's pretty much what writing about video games is. It's not a business. It's not a. You can make it a business, but it's not that simple. Like, if you want to make it a business, then you have to do something that's of value to the people that you're serving to. And it's just like, there's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of people just give up because they just think, oh, like, I'm not getting any success, I'm not getting anywhere, but little do they realise that it's because they haven't been seeking, they haven't been truly searching for that success. All they've been doing is grinding more and more and more and hoping that that success comes to them. But that's the thing, success doesn't come to you. Success comes to those who earn it. And yeah, I understand you put a lot of effort into your writing, and so does everybody on Destructoid, but that doesn't mean that they get success. To get success, you have to, or in terms of money, you have to have a strategy, and you have to know what's valuable to you. You have to know what's valuable to your audience. That's what you do to get success. But you also have to make something that is financially viable. And if you actually look deeply into what you're doing and what you're writing about, or what you're doing videos about, then you may eventually find out that what you're doing has no value, has no monetary value. It might have some value, but it might not have any monetary value. That's the thing, you see. Like, just because it doesn't have monetary value doesn't mean that it isn't valuable. It's like Let's Plays, for example. Let's Plays have no value. I'm going to say that straight away. They don't, well, they, no monetary value, I mean. They do have value, but not monetary value. I would never pay for a Let's Play. Ever. Like, it's just something that you can't market for money, because it's just someone playing a game, and walkthroughs and guides are the platform you want to go for if you want to make money. And the best way to do that is to write for someone like Primer or something. That's what you want to do. Like, it's all about knowing your platform and knowing what the platform does best. Yeah, pretty much. Like, the games journalism it's not that big. Like, they want to cash in on as much as they can to make as much as they can out of it. It's like, I don't really care much about Destructoid at all. Like, aside from the community, like, the site itself is just another site that just capitalizes on mass media. That's all it is. There's nothing special about it at all as a website. It's just, if it wasn't for the community, it'd be nothing. Like, that's what it would be. It would just be another website like IGN, which does all the mainstream stuff and gets the big audiences. Like, that's what it does. And to get the big audiences, you have to do news, because people only care about what's new and what's out. In a way, that's part of the reason why the gaming industry is in so much shit, because people don't really give a fuck. Like, if they gave a fuck, then we probably wouldn't have so many mediocre games these days. Even though not all games are mediocre, there's a lot of trash these days. Like, standards are a lot lower than they were back in 2006. Like, if you want to make a successful game now, you only need to just hype it up. That's all you need to do, and hype wins every time. I think something like something interesting helps if you can come up with an interesting premise or setting, but as for the actual, like, content of the game, you don't really need to put much work or effort into it. You just need to do something that can wow people. That's what it takes to succeed now. But really, does it really succeed? I mean, in a way it does, but I don't think, like, for example, if you're an indie developer, it's definitely not the best route to success. But if you're a AAA developer, it is, because people trust, like, brand name loyalty, you know. People are all for that brand name stuff, so you can really get away with it. But a lot of indie developers think that they can do the same thing, and they can't. Like, if you're indie, you're on a completely different league. You have to follow the rules. You can't just do what the AAA guys are doing, because you have to set a new standard for gaming. You can't just, like, follow established standards and expect success. You have to build your own standard and do something like Mount and Blade, where it changed the RPG genre, like, considerably. Like, for example, like, Mount and Blade's the game that you can beat anything or anyone you want to in a sandbox RPG world. Like, that was a concept that nobody knew about, and that's why, in my opinion, Mount and Blade Warband is probably the best game of 7th generation. It pretty much was, in a way, because it's the only game that I can think of that really changed what gaming, like, changed, or did something new, in a way. Yeah, they do. They need to, like, that's why I did my first video on theory crafting, which was about
Hang
the
on,
three
2B.
principles.
This machine is still alive.
So destroy it.
Maybe we should hold off. Its main drive has been trashed, so there's no way it can attack us. And we might be able to learn something interesting if we study it.
But yeah, I think the biggest thing that they need to do is understand the principles of game design, because a lot of indie developers don't. They haven't really been in it long enough to understand them. Like, they just tend to assume that if they make something that brings back the good old days, that people really like it. But no, they won't. They'll just keep remembering the good old days. They won't. Your game will just be a footnote, and the original games will not be a footnote, if that makes sense. Like, for example, I forgot what they called it now. Oh, I see. It's friendly, but it's like Indivisible, for example. Like, it's basically trying to take what Valve Profile did and try and become successful because of Valve Profile. Pretty much, it's trying to be Valkyrie Profile so that it can be successful, and that's not how it works. Like, just because you do what Valkyrie Profile did does not mean that you're going to be a memorable game. People are going to remember Valkyrie Profile first, so really what you want to do is do something different and unique. I mean, even with Exist Archive, I did like the game a lot, but when it comes to the most memorable, like, one of the most memorable games, it's not the most memorable to me. It's not ever going to be the most memorable, just simply because Valve Profile exists. Like, it's still a great game, don't get me wrong, but it's just basically the same sort of thing as Valve Profile. And that's not a problem, it's just that, and I know that Tri-Ace are a good developer. I know what to expect from them, I know exactly what to get from them, and they were trying to bring back Valve Profile to the best of their ability. And really, with Valve Profile, like, it's had more budget, obviously, so you could do more with it. Indie developers don't have much budget. And that's not to say, because Tri-Ace definitely aren't independent anymore, they are a subsidiary to Nipro, so in a way, this guy's pretty big. In a way, the game's changed considerably compared to what it used to be. I'm mincing my words here because I'm trying to fight this guy. Like, what I mean to say is, Exist Archive is considerably different to what Valve Profile is in its combat. Like, it focuses on something different, even though it's very similar. So it does have some things that stand out, but ultimately, I'm always going to remember Valve Profile over Exist Archive because it was the game that started it. And ultimately, that's just the way things go. Like, you can still make good games by following established concepts, and Exist Archive is still a lot of fun, and it's probably the closest we're ever going to get to Valve Profile. But I'm not going to deny that it's never going to be Valkyrie Profile, ever. It's its own game, and I'm going to look at it as its own game. As its own game, it's fun. But I wouldn't say that it's going to be on the same level as the Valkyrie Profile series, because the Valve Profile series established it in the first place. So, like, you want to come up with your own concept if you want your games to be memorable. It's fine to do an exist archive every now and again if you're already an established developer like Tri-Ace is, and you already have a series that is already established. I mean, in a way, Star Ocean 5 is the same thing. They wanted to bring back the feel of the old Star Ocean games. That's good if you're a developer that isn't indie, or if you're a developer that's already done stuff before. Then yeah, you can get away with that. But if you don't really have many games to your name, or big games to your name, then you really should focus on something completely new and different. You don't want to go straight into a project that you really don't know anything about because you don't have the experience to take on such a project yet. Like, the people who made these amazing games, they had tons of experience in doing it. Plus, they knew the three principles and they followed them. Like, these indie developers don't know them. A lot of them don't. Some do, but some don't. Like, they just think that if you can do what the fans want, then you'll solve a problem. In a way you do, but it's not really a big enough problem to solve, because if people want to play the old games, they'll play the old games. That's the thing. Like, so really you're not really solving a problem in a way. Like, especially with Indivisible, since there was already an exist archive. I don't really get what they're trying to do with it. Maybe it's not trying to be like Valve Profile, but if they are trying to make it like Valve Profile, then they're definitely going to fail. Just simply because, like, it's already got exist archive out of it. Pretty much. It needs something. They need to start implementing some new ideas. And while it's... Oh, that was bad. Don't mess with the deer. While it's not exactly the easiest thing to come up with new ideas, the way you've got to look at it is use the principles and think of problems that need solving. And like, creating games that are basically the same sort of thing as previous games is not how you solve a problem. That's not exactly problem solving. I mean, you could argue it is, because it solves the problem of giving them access to the games that they... well, bringing back the games that they had before, but it kind of doesn't, because those games already exist, and if people want to play them, they'll go play them. And that's the problem that method of development has, in a way. So you want to create something that makes you want to play it. Exist Archive did that. That's why it was fun. It changed things and improved things. If you're not going to change or improve things, or you're just going to make something... And that's the thing about indies. Whereas Tri-Ace did have the ability to do that because they're not indie. The developers, like indie developers, they don't really have the ability to do that. They don't have the money. They don't have the finances. To make games like that, you do need money. You do. If you want to, like, really improve the quality of a game, it does require some financial commitment. The problem with most games these days is they squander that financial budget. That's the biggest issue. They squander it on graphics and stuff when it's not really needed. It's like I said about Nier Automata, like, this game doesn't need to have the graphics that it does. This game could easily run on PS2 if it was downscaled. Like, just basically optimize it for PS2 and it would look pretty much the same thing, just slightly less visually stunning, but it would still have its art style, so it doesn't really matter. And that's the thing that kind of annoys me about games these days, in the sense that everything has to be tech. And I know it annoys a lot of people, but in a way, it goes to more than just, like, graphics sells. Like, a lot of people don't play games for graphics, even though some people do. A lot of people think that the games are going to be... Like, they look at the gameplay and think, oh, it's going to be good, but it's more to it than just the graphics, and that's the thing. It comes down to the lack of knowing the principles, the lack of understanding engagement and motivation and rewarding elements. That's what a lot of indie developers fail to understand, and a lot of AAA developers just don't care about, because they're already succeeding. In a way, like, the standards of gaming have gone down. They have. because there's a new audience for gaming that the big boys can cash in on. That's pretty much the reason why. Like, because gaming's big now, they can cash in on all these things and still make tons of money. So why the hell would they need to listen to us? Like, but the indies, they can't do that, because indies are the ones that cater to us. They're the future of, they're our future for gaming, pretty much. Like, there's always those small people like Tries that will try and do what they do, like, because they're not exactly big. But, and Yoko Taro with this game, like, he's constantly trying new things, but I do think that Yoko Taro, in a way, I do admire the fact that he's trying to do something different, but I think that he focuses on just, he doesn't really, like, have much. I'm trying to kill this guy. He seems to not really, he seems to throw a lot of ideas into the pot and hope that they work. That's what he seems to want to do with a lot of his games. Like, they're different for the sake of being different. Like, that's basically the gist of it. This is really not nice to fight this. And the enemies don't stagger either. It's like, you've got a question with these ideas. What is it going to add to the game? Whereas he really doesn't. He just throws it in because he can, and that's pretty much how Yoko Taro makes games. For some reason this has gone on full screen. Well, they pretty much are the future, because AAA gaming isn't going to change so long as things stay the way they are. Like, people, like, the casual audience is what AAA caters to now, and that's not going to change unless that audience disappears. And how do you make that audience disappear? Well, make gaming not appealing anymore, and I doubt that that's ever going to happen in the near future, because gaming's moving forward. In their eyes it is. It's moving backwards to us, but in their eyes it's moving forward, because they're coming up with all these cool new technological advancements and innovations. But technological ones, not in terms of like new ideas that are really anything useful that solve a problem. They're focusing on just adding new tech to, like, kind of have that awe factor to it. Well, I can't really see how having indies as the future is a problem. Like, it's just the way things are. Like, but the casuals just don't want this. But this is just overwhelming as this fight, it really is. Pretty much. This is why I want to play this game without streaming, so that I can actually not have to struggle through these fights. But God, it would be so nice if I could actually stagger those small guys. That would be really nice. I would really appreciate that. Now this guy appears. But yeah, indie developers need to understand the principles. That's the biggest thing that they need to know. And that's why I did that video. It was supposed to be my first video, but the first video I did was on rewarding elements. That was my first one. And the second one I did was about the principles that I have. They're my principles, and personally, but a lot of those principles have been shared by other people, so it's not like it's completely nonsense. I just word it differently, pretty much. In a way, I word it in a simpler way than most people do, because most, like, when I look at other people's principles, they make it needlessly complicated. It's just like, it's really simple. All you need to do is solve a problem, keep the player motivated and engaged, that's it. But it's easier said than done. Like, it's difficult to engage players into a game. That's one thing it definitely is. But, like I say, Mount and Blade is one of my favourite games of all time for that reason. Because it is probably the most engaging game I've ever played. Now that's not to discredit the other games that I enjoy, because I'm not saying that they're not as engaging, but I'm not saying that they're not as good. They just reward me in a way that I prefer, in some kind of way. They have different rewarding elements. And that's not to say that I'm not engaging, but it just means that, well, most of the other games that I don't have, like, the other games that I have that are higher on my list, are mainly games that don't have so many, like, they don't have that much enough content to really, got that freaking shockwave. They don't have much content to really work with, so you can't really, like, games aren't all supposed to be like big games with lots and lots of content. They're not designed that way, and you've got to appreciate that. And it's all about the quality of the quantity. So it's not about the can I engage players with lots and lots of content. It's about the level of engagement. But the reason why I say that Mountain Blade is the most engaging game is because of the is in terms of quantity. Like, I put 600 hours into that game because it's so engaging. You just get so immersed into that game that you just want to, like, I've been playing that game recently. I've been playing more Viking Conquest recently, and it's been a lot of fun. I've really been engaged into it, and I keep getting engaged into it. It's like you make your own story. It's not like most Western RPGs that make you the hero of everything right from the get-go. Like Skyrim, you're the Dragonborn. Like, I don't want to be the Dragonborn. I just want to be this guy who wants to kill, like, religious individuals because I believe in a different religion. And Mountain Blade lets me do that. Like, I just want to be a random dude sometimes. It's not too much to ask. Yeah. I'll admit I haven't played Journey. A lot of people really do like it, but I can kind of see why. It's just, I don't know, like, never got around to it. But I can see why people may like it. It does look appealing. It seems to be a pretty popular one. But I've just not really understood what it was about. I think that's the thing about the Journey. It's just like, what is it exactly? I know that it's about roaming a desert and that lot, but what else? What else is it about? But yeah, ultimately, I mean, it's not. I might check it out one day, but there's just so many games. You know what I mean? But ultimately, that's the gist of things. You get so many, you get all the AAA games that want to be everything that's already established, and they can get away with it because of brand names, and then you get indie developers who think that they can cash in on established things that are already normal. Oh god. That's not good. Good thing I have potions. But yeah, like, people just seem to underestimate these principles, like, a lot of the time. Like, they don't seem to really understand why it's so important. A lot of the time when I read reviews and that lot, they say that the game's really good, but it's alright saying that it has good things, but is it engaging? Like, that's the thing that you have to consider when you're writing, like, when you're writing reviews of a game. I like to look at the three principles, and those are the basis of how I look at things when I'm writing about things. It's just like, does this solve a problem? Does it reward the player, and is it engaging? Those are the things that I look at all the time when I'm doing a review. Like, if something's disengaging, then it's a flaw. If it may cause disengagement, and that's the thing. If it's engaging, then it's a positive, and it's something that needs to be praised. If it's an idea, especially. And that's how I look at games. But this guy never staggers, does he? Like, this is one of the problems with this game. I won't really say it's disengaging in a way, but you could say it is because it is kind of unfair. But yeah, that's one of the flaws of the game, definitely. The freaking lack of staggering on certain enemies. Like, why you can't stagger this guy is beyond me. I used one that was already. I used a large health there. But yeah, this is ridiculous as this. I don't, like, this enemy, like, he just does not want to die. this is just repetitive now. That's what it is, and in a way that it's just the same thing, but it's not like in the same case of Painkiller where you're kicking tons and tons of ass and using the shotgun like to death. Like in Painkiller you're changing weapons and stuff. In this, well, this battle is just basically dodge, attack, attack, dodge, attack, attack, dodge. That's what this battle is right now, and if you don't do it in rhythm, then you're going to die. And it's annoying because you don't really have many options. That's the biggest annoyance about the combat system in this game in some cases. Well, while you do have some options in some cases, in a lot of cases you really don't. Like, this one enemy pretty much sums up the problems with this game, in a way. Like, we've fought this enemy like countless times already. Like, it's a reused asset from like previous enemies. It's not like Painkiller, which has different enemies and like each level. Not like, for example, some levels bring back enemies, but that's fine to bring back enemies. But you know, it's good to give us something new every now and again. And Painkiller's constantly giving us something new. This game, well, it does give us some new enemies, which is nice. It repeats enemies a lot, and that's fine. But like, if the game works with it, like when these enemies don't stagger and when there's no consistency in the rules, it's really annoying. Like, I can't do much to this guy because I can't stagger him, and since he's such a small enemy, I just can't hit anything when I'm in the air and when I counter him. And if you add a mechanic like countering, then you've got to have some, like, especially since it's an aerial counter, you've got to have some staggering. Like, probably the best thing to do right now is to just keep using that shockwave and dodging backwards. But then I automatically counter and this happens. It's not good. Like, it really isn't. And that's the biggest problem, you see. Like, games need to... That's what we need to be aware of about games. Things like this. And if this was the entire game, like the same thing over and over and over again, which thankfully it isn't, then yeah, it would be a pretty poor experience. Fortunately, this isn't the entire game. Thank God. If it was, then yeah, I would have problems with this game. Big problems. But this is definitely not a good fight, this is an annoying fight. Probably, yeah. But what's new? I've played worse games. Like, I played the original Odin Sphere, so I'm fine with combat that is really frustrating and tedious. Not that the remake of Odin Sphere is bad. That's brilliant. That's amazing in comparison. And well, it's pretty good. Like, it's a solid, amazing game. But the gameplay of the original was absolute trash. In this game right now pretty much sums up what this battle is. Basically what every battle in Odin Sphere feels like just repeatedly doing the same thing over and over and over again. The only difference is, well, actually I am using potions all the time whenever I get hit, but you don't always get hit all the time, I suppose. But and it's a lot easier to use potions. Like, it's not as cumbersome. Like, there's not a ton of potions that you have to do, and you don't have to like grow seeds all the time. Like, pretty much all these things were improved in Odin Sphere. Like, the Odin Sphere remaster kind of taught, like, a lot of games need to learn from that, because it really is one of the, it really makes a good point in a way, because it shows just how important it is to make gameplay engaging, and it shows how important it is to add like plenty of variety to keep that engagement. Not that variety is always important, but it depends. Like, there's a lot of factors that go into it. In Odin Sphere's case, the lack of variety or the lack of choice was the biggest problem and was the thing that was killing the engagement. And they fixed that, and it needed to be fixed. But this enemy, like, he's just not dying. Pretty much, I have seen someone playing it on a stream. I watched the Neon Demon, and he was streaming it, and it was basically 9S, and I didn't like what I saw. Let's put it that way. I saw basically the game turns into a mini shoot 'em up every single time you encounter an enemy, which is just another one of Yoko Taro's ideas that just doesn't really work. pretty much. That's basic. It just simply because it just kills the pacing of the game in a way. It's just like it goes from fast paced and into like it's disorientating. That's the best way to describe a lot of things in this game. Like disorientating is the best word to describe the flaws of Nier Automata. Like, and it's because of the stupid ideas that serve no purpose. Like that's why I say problem solving are not concepts in my three principles. Like, concepts is not one of the principles. You'd think it would be, and that's what a lot of indie developers seem to think it is. Like, a good concept sells a game. It's not that simple. You have to solve a problem. That concept has to have a purpose. If it doesn't have a purpose, then it's just a waste. There's no point to it. And a lot of this game has a lot of concepts that have no purpose, but a lot of that comes down to the fact that this game seems to lack focus. Like when I saw the start of the game and it started in a shoot 'em up, then it decided to go into like a hack and slash like character action game. Like, make up your mind. What are you going to focus on? Like, what's the focus? And I can tell you right now that the focus is definitely not on the combat. If this is what the combat is in the game, then it's definitely not the focus. Not that it's bad, it's just not the focus of the game. Or, well, if it is the focus of the game, which I think it kind of is, then I'm going to obviously rate the game lower. But the shoot-'em-up sections aren't really that bad. It's very simple, but they're not bad. But that's the thing, like, a lot of this game is like a load of simple concepts. A lot of simple games thrown together. Rather than trying to better the concepts of, like, other games, like what Painkiller did, it's trying to meld concepts together to try and add some variety. And in a way, that sounds cool on paper, but you want to really focus on your core elements. Otherwise, it's going to be a pretty dull game overall, because you have a load of different elements, like a lot of variety that really doesn't meld well together with the game, and it ends up being disorientating, and it ends up getting quite tedious, especially when the pacing is off. Like, you're doing a lot of like character action combat and like not much shoot 'em ups, which I haven't really seen much shoot 'em up combat in a while. So yeah, this seems to be the focus, and that's where this game's weakness comes in, because it's not focused enough on the character action combat. And like, I understand that this isn't a character action game, it's supposed to be an RPG and action game, but like, I just think it could do better. And that's the thing, I'm not trying to say that this game's bad, it definitely isn't. I'm basically trying to point out the flaw. Like, this game has a considerable flaw. Like, I've been doing the same thing right here for like ages now, and it's not exactly what I would call fun. Like, I've basically just been trying to counter this guy, failing every time. I think he's nearly dead though. Oh no, he's still got a lot of health. And it's starting to get on my nerves. Like, and having to constantly counter as well. And, like, this enemy's so basic. Like, aside from the fact that I'm not concentrating well enough because I'm not really that good with the dodge system. Like, if you were perfect with the dodge system, you would get bored with this battle very quickly, because it's literally the same thing over and over and over again. That's what it is. Yeah, pretty much, that's the problem. Like, it doesn't focus on its core elements. That's pretty much the problem of Nier Automata. Like, I think it does have a lot of good in it, in certain ways, but it definitely isn't Game of the Year material, I can tell you that much. Well, I don't know what... It might actually be Game of the Year, depending on if there's nothing else, because it depends on what there is. Like, it's the only game I've really played in 2017, and it probably might only be the only game I played in 2017 if I can't play Bannerlord. If I can't play Bannerlord in 2017, if that doesn't come out in 2017, it might get Game of the Year, just simply because there aren't many games out there for me, but, well, my Game of the Year at least, but I tend to not do Game of the Year lists for that reason, just simply because I don't exactly have a Game of the Year. Pretty much, like, I look at Game of the Generation rather than Game of the Year. Pretty much. Yeah, it'd be easier to just go Devil May Cry 2 mode on this fight, to be honest. Just stand there and shoot. Pretty much. Yeah, that's the game. Just running around and shooting, just like Devil May Cry 2. And that way I don't get hit. This is another problem, like, it's, like, I believe Keith Bergen called it false choices, like, melee combat in some cases, well, in a lot of cases in this game, is a false choice. It's a lot easier to just stand and shoot, rather than to actually go into melee combat. Yeah, the multiple perspectives is something that I kind of do agree with, though. In a way, I do agree with. Although 9S's perspective, like, I don't know really, like, is 9S any different from 2B? I don't know about the story really, but it's cool that they're trying to do that, and I appreciate the multiple perspectives. And more games need to do that, but I mean, I'd like to see, like, 2A's perspective, because that seems like a completely different perspective. But 9S's perspective, like, as you can see, 9S is always with 2B, so what's the difference? Like, there really isn't much difference. Like, it's still the same perspective in a way, it's just that you're controlling a different character. Well, that took forever. Yeah, I don't either, like, not only do I lack the finances to do that, but I also lack the time. Like, games are a huge time investment, and if you're going to play them, then you want to make sure you have plenty of time. Like, I have no idea what that was. I just basically ran into it and fought this massively long boss fight that took forever. Maybe it was just because they were high level enemies, I don't know, but in a way then you could consider that a flaw in the fact that it's an RPG.
Use modifier to force him to stop.
Okay, what was that? Oh, so that's where that song comes from. I kind of made a joke when I was watching a Square Enix live stream, and because this song played right at the beginning of one of the live streams, and I kind of made a joke saying that this is the Square Enix store theme song, simply because trying to get people to buy off the Square Enix store, which they're always doing, pretty much. Something that Square Enix just loves to do, because they get the money directly to them, rather than having to go through a third party to sell stuff. Why not just get the money straight in our hands? That's why Origin exists. Oh yeah, the camera perspective, yeah, that's annoying. That really is annoying. Like, I thought that you meant from a story perspective with different characters. I like that idea, I just think that 9S as a different perspective is a bit of a waste. I'd rather, whereas 2A sounds interesting, 9S kind of sounds like a bit of a waste in some cases. Like, it's just like, well, he's always with 2B for most of the game, so what's going to change? It's a bit like the different perspectives in Tales of Exilia with Mila and Jude, like, and also you could argue, well, I'd actually say that Star Ocean Second Story had a bit more variety in the change of perspectives, to be honest, but in Tales of Exilia, like, Mila and Jude are mostly around each other, but then again, even that game had more variety in terms of perspectives than this. Like, 9S is always with 2B, like, most of the game, so what are we going to gain out of it? Like, does he have a different motive, a different goal? That's what I want to see. It's like Odin Sphere, for example. Like, one minute you're playing as, like, Gwendolyn, who is basically fighting with Odin to try and prove herself to her father, and without even considering what she's actually doing and the consequences of her actions, and then you're playing as Velvet, who is trying to actually save the world from total annihilation. I hope I didn't spoil that, but pretty much, and you come to realize that what Gwendolyn was kind of doing, kind of was actually a bad thing in a way, but she did it because she wanted attention from her father, pretty much. And in the sense that she's not really a bad character, she's just basically, like, uninformed as to how things are going. That's the interesting thing about multiple perspectives. You see different perspectives, and different people think that they're right. In a way, it kind of, I think it might work in this game, to be honest, because like you've got the machines who, like, Yorha sees all machines as evil, and like the machines, not all of them are evil, so it's an interesting thing. So multiple perspectives can work, and I do like that because it makes it establishes the world. It makes the world more interesting when you see it from different perspectives, so you can really come to understand the world better than just this one-sided, like just the one-sided viewpoint on it, which a lot of games seem to have. Like, you don't really see the other side, and I like to see the other side because it's more like, it's more believable, because people are human, and there's no real right or wrong in the world. I don't think, well, there are wrongs in the world, but in reality there's no hero, and there's not always a villain. Like, sometimes there are pure evil people, but humans aren't perfect, you know what I mean? So there's always going to be other humans out there that are going to have different oh, reading the text at the same time. They're going to have different viewpoints, and those viewpoints are going to give them different goals. That's why I like Warcraft so much, because they always, like, you play from the perspective of different characters, and you see that they have different goals, different ambitions. Some of them are the same, but they just conflict with one another because they both want certain things, and the fact that they want certain things leads to conflict. Yeah, pretty much. I want to see more Warcraft style and Odin Sphere style perspective shifting. Like, I really do, because it's like, for example, in Drakengard 3.
Something must have been up between Anemone and A2.
In Drakengard
Some
3.
of these aren't easy to talk about, especially for a soldier who's been fighting that long.
I guess so.
Like, in Drakengard 3.
You-
God.
Huh?
You
This-
might
this
understand
dialogue.
yourself someday.
Right.
Like, in Drakengard 3, you only get to see the perspective of Zero. You don't get to see the perspective of any of the other characters that you play as. Like, for example, you don't get to see the perspective of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, so you see a very one-sided viewpoint in the game, where you're playing as a character who is supposed to be kind of, not a villain, but kind of like, supposed to be an anti-hero sort of character, which is fine if that's what you're going for, but you don't really get to see the other perspectives. You know what I mean? That's the biggest problem, and that's the thing that a lot of games seem to lack. And I think that Drakengard 3 of all games really could have used that multiple perspectives. They really could have used those multiple perspectives, because, like, it would have made the game a lot better and a lot more interesting than just seeing the perspective of Zero the whole game. And that's not to say that Zero's all bad, like, Zero's perspective is all bad. It's just that, like, it makes the world a bit sterile when you only see one perspective. Like, you don't care about the world, it only makes you focus and care on the specific character, because you only see things from one character's eyes. To get multiple perspectives, you need to see things with another character's eyes, and that's when you begin to care about different sides and different characters. And it also has you questioning what you're doing, and has you questioning what's truly right and wrong, and that's where you can get really solid games. And yeah, sure, you can have such things, well, in terms of story, yeah, that's what makes a solid story, really, and you can have such things without focusing on the world and the lore. You can have games that focus on characters. I mean, Grandia 2 does that, but, like, more games need to also look towards focusing on the world. Like, you have to have really well-written characters if you want to focus on characters. You really do. You have to have really good narrative. It's all about knowing what you focus on and knowing what you do best at. That's what it's all about. And a lot of games just don't know what they're best at. They just throw in whatever they can to try and make it pay off. In some cases, you could argue that this game's thrown in a lot of stuff because it doesn't know what people want anymore. And honestly, Square Enix have always struggled to know what it is that people actually want. For like in recent years, they have, because since Final Fantasy has lost relevance, they're kind of like, what do we do now? And they've been like this for quite a while now. So it's been quite a bit of a challenge for Square Enix. They've completely had to change the way they work, the way they run things. And in a way, it's a good thing because we get to see lots and lots of different games, but they're not quite there yet. I wouldn't say that they are there yet. They still need a lot of work to really get back and really become relevant again. And I'm not saying that they're doing a bad job. They're definitely doing a good job, to be quite honest with you. Like, they're doing better than most publishers, let's put it that way. But they really need to start looking at what people really want, and that's what they're doing. But more publishers need to start looking at what people really want, because a lot of publishers seem to think that we want stuff and we really don't. It's like, one of Square Enix's flops was Just Cause 3. Like, it's like, what people want is destruction and chaos, and yeah, that's cool, but when that's all the game has, it becomes sterile. When you focus on something that doesn't really solve a problem, the game becomes sterile as well. It's not just engagement, like, all the principles are important, and in Just Cause 3's case, it was the problem solving. Like, it was just trying to focus on destruction because it was something that was fun and cool and that people like. It's alright about focusing on something that people like, but you need to focus on something that people need. I mean, you could argue that nobody needs video games, but if, like, which they don't, but what I say about need is something that's really important, and Just Cause 3 didn't focus on anything important. There's many other games that do the same thing as Just Cause 3, in some cases better. Pretty much, yeah, the flawed hero. Pretty much, and I tend to like the anti-hero characters a lot. Particularly characters that are misunderstood. Like, for example, Illidan in Warcraft 3 is like, in World of Warcraft, he is one of the, he's basically a bad guy in World of Warcraft. They make him out to be like this big bad guy and the main villain. He was pretty much the main villain, or he wasn't the final boss of Burning Crusade, but he pretty much was the main villain of Burning Crusade. But the thing about it isn't what a lot of people who play World of Warcraft don't realize, that if you play Warcraft 3, he wasn't actually a bad guy. He was just a misunderstood hero who pretty much saved the entire world and nobody realized it. And if it wasn't for, like, what's his name? If it wasn't for Maiev and, like, Malfurion, the Lich King would have been dead before Wrath of the Lich King even happened. The Lich King would have been dead in seconds, and Arthas' story would have been over if Illidan used the Eye of Sargeras to destroy Northrend. That would have been it. Arthas would have failed his quest immediately. But because Malfurion stepped in to interfere, Illidan failed, and yeah. But the reason why Malfurion stepped in to interfere is because the Night Elves, as a race, they're very traditionalists, and Illidan is basically, he never could understand the druidic magics, and he turned to the dark arts because, like, to the dark demonic arts, like, he's a demon hunter, and because he took power for himself and kind of helped the demons in doing so, but it wasn't for that intention, obviously. He was basically imprisoned for many years, and when he comes back out from his imprisonment, like the Burning Legion are there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to prove to you that I'm actually useful and helpful." And pretty much what he does is he saves the entirety of Azeroth from. He saves the world tree from getting corrupted, which pretty much saves the world, because Tychondrius is planning to corrupt the entire world tree. Nobody knows, not even Archimon knows what Tychondrius is planning, because it's actually Kill Jaden's plan. Well, at least that's what I assume it is, but it probably is, because the Dreadlords serve him in secretly. But, like, Illidan caught on. I mean, Arthas kind of told him to do it, because Arthas was like, I can't be bothered. Like, Arthas, well, I think Arthas was kind of scared of Tychondrius in a way. I don't know. Like, Tychondrius had this influence over Arthas in some way. I don't know. But put simply, if Arthas rebelled against Tychondrius, Tychondrius kind of saw it coming. He would have prepared for it. But Tychondrius was never prepared for Illidan. Like, he didn't know Illidan was a thing. But Illidan came into the picture. Tychondrius wasn't ready for it, because Illidan was supposed to be in prison the whole time. And then Illidan killed Tychondrius. And because he killed Tychondrius, he essentially stopped he essentially took the Skull of Gul'dan, which was corrupting the entire forest, and had that corrupted the world tree, the world would have been pretty much over. Like, Azeroth would have been destroyed immediately, because the entire world tree would have been corrupted and died, and that would have killed the whole world as a result. But Illidan stopped that, and when he did that, because the world would have been destroyed before the invasion even happened, because it would have been destroyed from within. Like, it would have been destroyed in a more subtle way, because Dreadlords kind of like to plan, they like the slow, painful approach to things. And Illidan kills Tichondrius, and the thanks he gets for pretty much saving the world is his brother sees him and is like, "You've become a demon. You've basically cheated us all. You've become what you hated all along. You've become what we've hated." And he's like, "Be gone from this place," pretty much. And he gets exiled from the Night of Kingdom because his brother hates him, and Tyrande hates him, and he's like, "Well, fuck you guys, I'm out." And then he basically leaves, and yeah, that's the last thing you see of Illidan in Reign of Chaos. And then Archimonde comes over and, well, wants to kill everybody. Yeah, that's basically the gist. But he's an interesting character, definitely. And what really kind of annoys me in the ending, because right at the end of Warcraft 3, right at the end, the final battle of Warcraft 3, I mean, it's kind of spoilery, really, to say it, but the final battle of Warcraft 3 is a battle between Illidan and Arthas. Like two of the biggest characters in the game, two different perspectives that you get to play as both Illidan and Arthas throughout the entire game. Like, you get to play out both perspectives, and they're completely different perspectives. Like, Illidan's kind of like this misunderstood hero, whereas Arthas is just this sadistic, psychopath. And you have to you play as Arthas throughout this entire thing, and obviously, kind of the game makes you want Arthas to win. But I was like, I don't want Arthas to win. He's a psychopathic moron. He's going he killed, he committed near genocide just for the pleasure of it. And I'm playing as pretty much the main bad guy in a way. Well, not the main bad guy, but I'm playing as a guy who commits mass genocide, and I have to win with him versus a misunderstood hero that pretty much saved the world, who, yes, he's serving a demon, but he's doing a good deed by stopping the Lich King. But yeah, eventually, yeah, pretty much. It's Warcraft, not StarCraft. StarCraft is the other game that Blizzard did. StarCraft is the science fiction game. I've only just got StarCraft. I haven't really played much of it. I just played the intro of it. I played it because I got it for free. But Warcraft 3 is the game that I'm talking about. There's other Warcraft games, but Warcraft 3 is the one with most of the story in it. Pretty much. StarCraft I don't know much about. It seems to be whereas Warcraft is Warhammer, the original kind of style game, StarCraft is Warhammer 40k style game. I completely lost. I don't even know where I'm going. I'm assuming that I'm going somewhere around here. Yeah, pretty much. It is. What quest is it? Terminal repairs. Several machines hanging near malfunctioning near point. I'm assuming that is down here somewhere. So I'm gonna go there and actually do some of the quests rather than getting on my soapbox about things. Because there's something down in this cave somewhere, I don't know. Missile supply mission. This is a new area, I haven't been down here. But yeah, that's Warcraft 3. I kind of spoiled a lot of the plot there, pretty much. But yeah, it has my favourite story in a video game, period. Pretty much. When it comes to video game storytelling, it's the best to me, from what I've experienced. It's the best story. So yeah, that's why there was a lot to talk about, really. And that's why I like the story, because there is so much depth to it. And yeah, Illidan is a pretty cool character. I also like the villains as well. WoW Wiki is a place where you can look at the lore. You can there's also other people who there's a YouTuber called Doron's Movies. He does a lot of lore on Warcraft and talking about all the characters and stuff. But the best way to do it is to experience the lore yourself is to read the books. I'd say, like, that's what I do. Like, the best book to start with to read the lore would probably be Rise of the Horde. I would start reading that book. That book's a good way to introduce yourself to it. Like, you can play Warcraft 3 first if you want to, but the best way to start in some cases is definitely Rise of the Horde. That's the best book to read if you're looking for if you're wanting to find a new, like, if you're wanting to start reading Warcraft. But in a way, like, you can also play Warcraft 3 first. Like, there's no reason you wouldn't. Like, you'd love the books even more if you play Warcraft 3, pretty much. I wouldn't recommend playing World of Warcraft though. That game kind of butchered the lore in a lot of ways. Like, it really has. But I suppose if you're looking for an MMO, you can play World of Warcraft. But, like, I wouldn't recommend it. Like, let's put it this way: if you're a big fan of the lore of Warcraft, chances are you're really not going to like World of Warcraft. It really screws things up. Yeah, pretty much. Like, there's a reason why Warcraft made such a successful movie.
Proposal. Enemies should be dispatched immediately.
Like, I also recommend.
Dangerous foe intact would be unwise.
Understood.
I also recommend, if you haven't already, check out the Warcraft movie as well. That's a good movie. It's a good Warcraft movie in a way. So I recommend watching that.
The bedrock here was bombed out in the last war.
Like, I would say that's the best place to start, to be honest, the Warcraft movie. Just watch the Warcraft movie, and if you like the Warcraft movie, then, like, the books are better. So you'll probably love the books even more, and you'll love the games even more as well. But the movie's alright, it's not bad. It could have been better in some cases, like, but it did its job reasonably well. There was a few things that have kind of changed in the movie that weren't in the original lore, like for example, the orcs are brown in the movie when they actually were green before they left the Dark Portal because of the taint of the world that was ravaged by the orcs. I should have really bought more recovery items, because this is the same thing again. I think I'm kind of underleveled for this, to be honest. I think that's the problem, like, I'm underleveled for this enemy. So basically, if I fight these guys, then I'm just gonna keep basically shooting them to death, so it's pretty boring stuff. But yeah, that's basically what Warcraft is about. A lot of people say it's a Warhammer ripoff, and it pretty much is, but that's not a problem. It's basically Warhammer, but in my opinion, it's better. A lot of people would argue Warhammer's better. Good for them. I like this. I like Warcraft, so pretty much. It's like, for example, one of the games that I would really love if it ever happened would be a Mount and Blade and Warcraft crossover, or like a Warcraft mod for Mount and Blade. And I actually looked up, like, it was released in 2015 apparently, and I obviously didn't pay attention. Well, it was announced in 2015, but there might be, and I'm not sure, but there might be a mod for Warcraft 3, well, for Warcraft in progress for Mount and Blade, which sounds weird considering the fact that Bannerlord's coming out, and I'm thinking that they may end up changing things and maybe make it to Bannerlord, or they might end up giving up because it would be very difficult to do. But like, if they did that, like made a Mount and Blade game like with set in the Warcraft universe, just sign me up. I'd be all over that. Ah, yeah. The movie's... Oh. Yeah, that went well. Now I have to walk all the way back, but yeah, but I don't get what was going on in that. Like, were the enemies higher level? I think they were. But like, this is why you don't meld. Like, in some cases you do, if you do it like Chaos Legion, where you power up your legions. But this is why you don't meld RPG elements with character action games, because, and the same thing happened. It's not like it's the first time this has happened as well. The same thing happened in I can find the where is the water one, like the flooded, because I did have it. It just doesn't seem to be available for some reason. Yeah, where is it? I don't even know where it is. Like, I did activate it, didn't I? So, where has it gone? Maybe it just doesn't appear because I died. I don't know. But yeah, the Warcraft movie, it's not bad. Like, as a movie, it's pretty meh, you could say. I'm not really a movie critic, so I can't really judge, but I enjoyed it. It's enjoyable. It's not a masterpiece of a movie, but let's be honest, most video game movies suck. So, for it not to suck, it must have done something right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, for it to be half decent, it must have done something right. And I will tell you right now, it did do something right. Well, it might not be a perfect movie, it has a really solid premise, and it's an enjoyable video game movie. And I think the reason why it's enjoyable, unlike a lot of the trash video game movies that you get, like, is simply because it's Warcraft, and it has Warcraft lore in it. And most games just don't have enough lore, or don't have any good lore, to make an effective movie. It's like, for example, I remember buying the collector's edition for Tales of Symphonia, and it came with that, like Tales of Symphonia Chronicles, and it came with this book. I thought the book would be interesting to read. It kind of wasn't, mainly because the world and lore of that game wasn't big enough. Like, it wasn't enough. It was, like, it does have a bit of it, but not enough of it, if that makes sense. And it was kind of altered from a completely different concept. So basically, I just need to get back to where I was and find where I was, because I don't even know where I was, to get my body so that I can get all my items back. Because that's another thing that this game does. It has kind of like a, you die, you drop your items sort of thing. Pretty much. Well, I think if you're going to make a movie out of something, or a book, you need it. Pretty much. Warcraft got away with the movie because it has good lore and story already, so it already works. It's like a fantasy version of Game of Thrones, pretty much. Although a lot of people would argue Warhammer is. That's what it is. It's not as good as, it's not as deep as, it might not be as deep as those things, I don't know, I haven't read Game of Thrones. My experience playing, my experience with Warhammer is not much. So, I don't really know, but I mean, I need to find my corpse, that's what I need to do. But story is, like, I think really with story, like, a lot of developers, when they focus on story, they don't look at the how to like that's why I made my blog about how to make a successful storyline in a video game, because I think a lot of developers don't really know. Like, they seem to just assume that people want certain things because they say it out loud, but they lack the innovations. They lack like multiple perspectives and stuff. They lack the lore. Like, you can have either that or they lack the narrative. Like, Grandia 2 was successful to me because it had the narrative. It had a really interesting narrative that was really strong, and that was what made that game so good. But narrative means different things to a lot of people. Like that narrative spoke to me in a way that it wouldn't speak to some people. It was just a great experience because the narrative was so great, and they focused a lot on the narration of the characters and stuff. So that's why I enjoyed that story. So it's not always about establishing a lore in a world. I don't want people to get confused with that. But if you do establish a lore in a world, it makes the world more engaging. And if you have an engaging world, or a world that you can connect with, then you probably can maybe compete with movies in some shape or form. Yeah, I don't even know where this pipe was. I'm trying to remember where it was. Where are we on the map? Right. Current destination is here, apparently. So I have to find that pipe. Where was that pipe? That's what I want to know. There was a pipe leading into the flooded city. I can't use the transport for some reason, I don't know why. Yeah, different people expect different things out of a game. Different people get rewarded with different things out of a game, and it's all about understanding the rewarding elements that you want to employ in your game. Like, different games are going to have different rewarding elements. Not every game needs a story. Painkiller doesn't need a story. But if you're going to focus on story, you want to make the story good. You want to make players connected to it. And Warcraft is an example of how you do it. You want to have multiple perspectives so the player gets engaged in the game's lore, so that the lore is entertaining and exciting, so that you can create an exciting world to be around. You have to do these things if you want to succeed in that department. Either that, or you focus on the narrative and make a narrative that is eye-catching and interesting. Those are ways that you can really... Those are the best ways to focus on storytelling in a video game. And not every video game does that, that's fine. I think I might have found the place where I need to be now. But if you are going to do that, then you've got to make sure that you... If you are going to focus on story, you've got to make sure you know what makes a good story. It's like if you want to make sure you want to if you want to focus on linear exploration or open-ended exploration, you need to know what makes those... You want to know what makes that engaging. And because like after the motivation comes engagement. Like I say, once you've found the rewarding element, you need to find out what makes it engaging, so that you can stand out and be the best that you can possibly be. And that's why I talk about these three principles so much, because they are important. It's important to know what engages people in video games. It's important because it's important to know what motivates players, and it's important to solve a problem to make something valuable to players. Only then can you create an experience that...
Proposal. Enemies should be dispatched immediately. Leaving such a dangerous foe intact would be unwise.
Understood.
Like, not doing that, like, not having such a game, like, not having such things... I'm trying to find my corpse here. Do I even have a corpse? Is it expired or something? I don't know. But not having such things in the game...
The bedrock here was bombed out in the last war. Looks like the whole city is starting to sink as a result.
Like, you want to make... You want to pay attention to the three principles, and you want to consider them if you want your game to have any value. Because it's those three principles that give video games value. And that's what people seem to be forgetting. It's not just about making... And that's part of the reason why a lot of people who want to be game developers are never going to succeed. Are never going to become successful game developers. Just simply because it's alright having an idea, but if you can't solve the problem, if you can't adhere to the three principles, if you don't follow the three principles, then you're not going to make a successful game. Unless you get really lucky with marketing or something. Like, which you just can't if you're an indie. That's the thing. And indie development is the future. If you can't succeed... Well, there it is. Thank God I found my body. Retrieve it. Like, you can't succeed unless you... I'm actually going to go back and get some items, to be honest, because I'm low on items, so I need to get some more. But to make your video games a success, you need to follow those three principles. especially since indie games are the future, and like that's what all budding indie developers need to figure out, and that's the thing, you see. If you want to be, if you want to make a game, like that's what you need to consider. But like, because indie developers are the future. But what was the other thing I wanted to say about? Because like, if you don't want to focus on the three principles, if that's not what you want, then really what you want is not to be a game developer. What you want to do is look at other media and decide for yourself what is the best medium for me to do what I want to do. If you want to make a story, it might be better to do a novel or to make a movie. Like, you've got to consider your platform, and I think a lot of people struggle in getting where they want to be for that simple reason, because they don't know which platform works for them. They don't know what the best platform is for them. And because of that, they end up struggling. They end up struggling to understand what it is they want. And I think that's why a lot of people on Destructoid are having a tough time, because they don't know what platform is best for them. Pretty much. Yeah, I'm just going to read the chat now, because I've been droning on for like the past few minutes. Right, if you link your, because I don't have a bot that gets me the link, so if you link your blog in the chat, I'll probably be able to have a look. Like, I don't know if you actually write on Destructoid as well, like, I don't know if that's, or if you just blog about things, like, on your own site. Like, I do both. Like, I write on my own site and on Destructoid, because I get my, like, I get engagement from Destructoid, that's why, pretty much. So that's pretty much the gist of it. That's why I tend to go for that reason, like, but ultimately, like, it doesn't matter, like, just link your blog in a way, I'll read it. Yeah, alright, but, like I say, it's, like, if it's on Destructoid, I could probably read it there easily, like, as I say, and I probably would recommend that in some cases, because if you want to get lots of engagement, then it's a good place to do it. But, well, like, the thing about it is that, what is there to lose, really? In a way, like, unless you're planning on making money from what you're doing, I suppose, and you don't want people, like, I just do it for engagement, so it's up to you, but I put a lot of my stuff on Destructoid, not everything, but a lot of it on Destructoid, because of the engagement, and that's why I do it. But, like, Destructoid is a good place to see what people want. Like, before I went on Destructoid, like, I really didn't have the standards that I do now. Like, the sort of thing is, I did a lot more content, I wrote a lot more blogs than I do now, but the reason why was because it was so easy to write blogs back then, because my standards were low. Now that my standards are higher, it's really hard to write blogs, because I have to adhere to the standards that Destructoid have set. Like, otherwise I get fail blogged, you know what I mean? So I have to do images, I have to do screen capping, I have to do all that stuff. And it's like, that's part of the reason why I haven't got any of my blogs up, because I haven't done the screen capping for it. And that takes ages. That's part of the reason why I'm doing these streams for Nier Automata, because I want to screen cap Nier Automata. Like, and I'll basically, when it comes to reviewing this game, which hopefully I eventually do, I'll have a stream with plenty of content to screen cap, so I can basically go on my YouTube channel, print screen, paste it into Paint and crop it, and then I can upload it and place it on my article. That's how I do my screen capping, pretty much. That's how I assume that people do their screen capping, because I'm not sure exactly what they do, but some screenshots I've seen, I'm like, those have definitely come straight off of Google Images or Flickr or something like that. Like, in my experience, it's not a very good idea to do that because I got one of my blogs removed from Destructoid for having copyrighted images on it. So you really don't want to do that because, like, it was a blog about game design and that lot, and why I don't aspire to be a game designer. And it was a pretty interesting blog for me. Like, it was one of my better blogs, and it got deleted from Destructoid because of the copyrighted images. So what I do is I get the images myself so that it's fair use, and I can say, if someone makes a big fuss out of it, I can say, well, I captured these images for fair use. Alright, I'm just talking about, like, screen capping and images, and, like, how, I don't know how people do it, but I'm sure that some people do it, like, with like, a lot of people get images from Flickr and Google Images, which I don't think is a good idea, like, in my experience. But I screen cap them, and that's why you don't see me blog as frequently on Destructoid anymore, because it takes a long time to get those screen caps, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist at times, and I try and get the best screen caps possible. I'm trying not to be as much of a perfectionist now, but, like, I did not see that coming. But that's basically the gist of it. Like, that's what takes the time. The screen capping is the thing that takes the time, and that's the good thing about these streams, because I can get points across without having to do much work, which is always nice and important to do. But I do obviously need to do those vlogs as well. I need to really start working on them. Like, streaming things is the easy bit. Like, the hard bit is the actual doing the screen caps for the vlogs. And it's not completely unenjoyable. I like to get screen caps where I can put a nice caption on, but, like, it's very difficult to get the screen caps, and that's why I've been having so much trouble, like, trying to get a capture card to basically capture the images from a console and all that lot. And that's why I need to get something. That's why I had trouble with Fraps and Video Share. I want to get video content from PC as well, even though I kind of screen cap just, like, directly from Steam a lot of the time, but it's nice to take video as well. I like to take video for other content I do. Like, if I do video content about, like, theory crafting or something, I have some video footage to do it over, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I'm thinking of, if I'm doing that in the future, I'm thinking of using doing some Doom gameplay over it. I've already had some pre-recorded anyways, so. But yeah, I'm definitely not using NVIDIA Share anymore. Screw that. Like, after what happened with Painkiller last time, like, the one that you saw was the one on Fraps. Like, that's the tricky thing, you see. That's the tricky thing I have. Like, I have a blog in the work. Like, I'm working on a blog at the moment, and I don't want to give too much away about it, but it's about MMORPGs. That's what the blog is, and I can't find any images for it to save my life. I don't play MMORPGs anymore. I don't play them anymore. Like, so how am I supposed to get any images for it? The only thing I can think of is re-downloading World of Warcraft and just getting any random screen cap from World of Warcraft. That's the only thing I can think of. And I have a lot of images to find, believe me, like, a lot of images that I need to find for that blog. And I really do want to make it a really good blog, because it has the potential to be one of my best blogs, if not my best. But at the same time, it's just such a difficult thing to do, to find those screen caps so that I can get enough, so that it can be good enough to be presentable. But yeah, like, art isn't usually the thing that I know much about, though. I'm not much of an artist. I don't know, like, I've left a quick post, but I wasn't specific enough about it, but yeah. Oh, what's this? Right. this is a shop. I need to buy some. Oh, this isn't the right shop that I was looking at. It's a plug-in chip shop, isn't it? Yeah, what I need to do is go to the shop. Oh, what's this all about? I know that this guy's cameo from the original Nier, but that's about it. Yeah, I can pretty much get screen caps from PS4. I won't worry about that much. The hard part is getting screen caps from other consoles like PS2, PS1, PS3, because if I want screen caps from PS4, I'll just do a stream. That's why I do these streams, pretty much. It's not just to talk, there's a method in my madness. Like, it's not just to talk about things, that's just an extra thing that I do. That's why on my Odin Sphere stream I don't have any commentary, because I can't seem to, record, I can't seem to record my sound very well in my Odin Sphere one. And I'm not going to be playing Odin Sphere for a while yet. I'm waiting until around near winter time before I do that, so that I'll eventually end up stopping playing Nier Automata at some point. Just like when I get about halfway through like 9S's story, maybe, I don't know, I'll probably stop playing it for a while, and then I'll probably focus on doing other things, like maybe doing something different. But that's mainly because like I want to experience the game when I'm ready to review it. But at the moment, I'm focused on reviewing a completely different game. And I don't want to give that one away, because all I'm going to say is that the game, a lot of people don't like the game that I'm reviewing. A lot of people really don't like the game that I'm reviewing, and I know why people don't like the game that I'm reviewing. That's all I'm going to say. It's a very notorious game that people don't like. And believe me, I know why. Now that I've played it, I can see exactly why people don't like the game. But yeah, that's basically all I can give away about my review so far, as I'm still working on it. And once I get I've got some screen caps for it, so I'm partway done. But I didn't have enough to actually do what I wanted to do. I don't know why this dash. What is going on with the dash? I'm dashing backwards, and now I'm stopping. What's going on? Like, I'm literally holding forward and the dash button, and I'm dashing backwards. I honestly don't know what's going on now. But yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment, and eventually I'm going to be doing some screen caps for that again. Yeah, look at that. Like, I'm literally pressing forward and back, and the game's deciding to instead stop in the middle of it. I don't think I'm going to piss off any people with this one. I don't think I'm going to piss anybody off with this one. Like, I don't know. I think, like, I've considered all perspectives on this one, but I'm not sure. Maybe I will. Who can say? Like, I've done some things that I thought wouldn't piss off people and have before. So, yeah. God, I don't know what's wrong. Like, I'm literally holding forward on the controller and it isn't doing anything, and like, something's off with this game at the moment. I don't know what's wrong. I honestly don't, but something's. But yeah, if anything, I know I have pissed countless people off before. Believe me, I have. I've pissed a lot of people off on Destructoid. There's a lot of people who have hold grudges, like, towards me on Destructoid. Just the way things are, and still continue to hold grudges on me. Like, it's just something that happens. But yeah, if that happens, it's nothing new. It's just like, it's just the normal, you know. So, but yeah, I don't think this one's gonna, like, I don't know, who knows, but anything can happen. But it's not a very popular game. Most people don't like it, let's put it that way. Well, a lot of people love to. It's called cognitive bias, really. That's one of the downsides of doing video game reviews. Alright, oh, nice. Ah, I see. I don't know what that must have been about. Like, what did you say to anger so many people? Because I've said a lot of things that have angered people before, believe me. Like, pretty much, if you read some of my rant blogs on Destructoid, then you'll understand why you'll see a lot of really angry people. A lot of angry people on them. Like, and it's just like, the silly thing is, the blogs that angered people are the most popular blogs I've ever written, besides the one that got front page, which was about the community. But aside from that one, which was actually probably one of my laziest blogs, was the blog that I did that got front page was probably the laziest blog I've ever written, pretty much. But yeah, it was about the community, so that's one thing that Destructoid seems to favour when you talk about them and the community, or non-video game related stuff. It's silly, really, because like people just love to talk about they love to listen to people talk about non-video game related stuff on a video game related site. That's the silly thing. The non-video game related stuff gets all the attention, and it's just like, I think part of the reason why is because there's so much gaming related content on Destructoid that people get sick of it and they want something different. So when you talk about something non-video game related or just community related, which was mine was kind of video game related, but it was community related mostly, people love it. Well, it's the same thing on Game FAQs. A lot of people really don't like me on Game FAQs. I've upset a lot of people on there, and to be fair, it's partly my own doing. I haven't been a complete saint. I'm not a complete saint, believe me. I tend to treat other people how I am treated in that respect, and a lot of people don't like me because of that mentality. So if people treat me like crap, then I treat them like crap. That's the way I look at things. But ultimately, I only go there just simply because it's the only place where you can get a board that actually talks about specific games in that respect. But they're all a bunch of miserable people on the FAQs. Like, everybody is miserable. Like, I went on the Nier Automata boards and talked about, like, I said, this game reminds me, I did a post on Game FAQs saying, this game reminds me of Kojima game. And when I did that, everybody made this stupid comment and was like, oh, well, like, it has nothing to do with Kojima, and, like, either that or it's like, oh, like, Platinum Games did it, so it's obvious that it is. Like they made some stupid comments. Like, they took me saying that the game has a Kojima feel to it as an act of aggression. That's how they took it. They thought that they took it as a hostile. They took it with hostile intentions when it really wasn't. It wasn't. It was just trying to get a discussion. This game reminds me of the Kojima game, and I'm like, well, actually, Kojima didn't have anything to do with so-and-so game. It was actually so-and-so games doing, and like you're wrong, I'm right, that sort of thing. And it's just like, I'm just trying to start a discussion. This isn't anything to do with being wrong or right. This is about just starting a discussion. Like, I don't know where all this started from. But yeah, that's basically the gist of Game FAQs. I go on it every now and again, but a lot of people don't like me on there. I've not got a very good reputation on there, but I don't think many people are liked on Game FAQs, if I'm honest. Like, they're just a bunch of miserable people on there for the most part. They're, like, I'm sure there's some cool people on it, but like, there's so many miserable people on there who are just so eager to hold grudges, and like it's because they're metagamers. They're like, if you say something or try to help someone, like, that's basically like pulling a sword out on somebody. like if you're trying to help someone by giving them advice, then you're basically going to attract the angry mob of metagamers, like, who are like coming to saying like, you have no idea what you're talking about, you have no right to help people in video games because you don't know what you're talking about. This is how you do it in a game, you do it this way. Like, it's like, I saw someone making like a post on something. Like they did a post on the game, and this guy and it wasn't asking for help. It was just talking about a specific topic, and then this guy started saying, "You want to play it this way? You want to play it that way?" And I'm like, "Hang on a minute. Like, let them play it their way. If they want to play it a way that they aren't comfortable playing it, then let them play it that way. They should. There isn't just one way to play a game. Like, if you tell people how to play, then you're ruining the experience for that person." But Game FAQs, they just seem to they seem to have that mentality of, like, they are the gurus of gaming, and no one's allowed to, like, say anything that, like, that no one else is allowed to be a guru unless they can prove themselves to be better at the game. It's just like, well, you have no right to talk about this and talk about that because you're bad at the game, because you haven't done this, you haven't done that. That's basically what Game FAQs is. It's just like, there's a hierarchy in it, pretty much. The game, well, I spoke about the game earlier, but the game is, mostly, it's pretty decent, but it has its problems, mainly in the combat, because it lacks focus in the core mechanics, pretty much. That's the biggest problem with the game, but ultimately the story's a barrel of laughs. I think it's funny, which isn't a bad thing. Like, a lot of people might think it's a bad thing, but I think it's funny. It's usual Yoko Taro nonsense, so it's a good laugh, pretty much. But at the same time, the gameplay, like, the music's pretty good. Like, it's vocal music, not my cup of tea, but it's still pretty good nonetheless, and I can see a lot of people enjoying it. The visuals, I was a bit iffy with them, but I think that they're pretty good, ultimately. I just think that it's just the normal argument of this game could have easily been on PS2, but it's still got a nice art style. Like, it just, if they downscaled it to PS2, like, visuals, it would still look just as good to me. Like, the graphics make no difference to me. The only problem I have is the gameplay. Like, the gameplay is very simplistic, which isn't all bad, but there's not a lot of battles pretty much come down to doing the same thing over and over again. There's a lot of false choices in the combat system, like using melee attacks can often put you in a compromising position and can make you get killed easily, so it's usually smarter to approach enemies by using, like, ranged attacks. A bit like Devil May Cry 2 in that way, in the sense that melee attacks weren't the most effective way of dealing with most enemies. Even though, like, they deal more damage, it puts you in a more compromising position, and that's the problem with the combat. But also, I don't like how the game kind of changes the camera. Like, the way the camera changes all the time is very disorientating, and disorientating is the best word I can describe the flaws of Nier Automata. The game is very disorientating. It tries to do a lot of things and doesn't really know exactly what it wants to focus on. It's not exactly a character action game at its core, but there's a lot of character action combat, and the character action combat it's very simplistic and basic, and it has quite a few issues in it. Like, for example, like, I was fighting some enemies. If you watch the stream backwards, I will have the stream up on my YouTube channel so you can watch it. But I was fighting an enemy for hours doing the exact same thing over and over and over again because the enemy wouldn't stagger, and the problem with that is that if the enemy doesn't stagger, then because the counter attacks, when you do a counter attack, you jump into the air and, like, start cutting them to pieces. But because they don't stagger, I ended up hitting them into the air, but because I was hitting them into the air and they didn't stagger, I was basically slashing the air. Like, I wasn't even hitting them, I was basically just swinging my weapon in the air, hitting nothing, pretty much, like this. That's basically what I was doing, pretty much. But ultimately, like, it's still pretty nice. It's a semi-open world game, as you can see. There's a lot of exploration value, like, not as much as certain games, but the side quests are good. It's got some good side quests and side missions that have nice story elements to them. It's got lots of great exploration to do because it's not a huge open world, but it's got a semi-open world in the sense that it's a very open-ended game in some cases. So it's probably the closest you're ever gonna get to an open world character action game, if that makes sense. I'm just gonna see if there's any quests up here. That's all. I remember going down here before, but is there anything new? I don't know. It's easier for me to do side quests at the moment, and then I can figure out the rest of it. I'll probably continue with the story later on, I don't know. Like, I need to figure out what I was doing again, because I completely got lost in what I was trying to do. Right, Jackhouse research, terminal repairs, retrieve the confidential intel. Yeah. So I'm going to have to find a quest or something to do. I don't know what I need to do in the main story, but I'm completely lost in this game now. I'm assuming that I'm gonna go to the amusement park, see if there's any quests to do there. I'm sure there is. That's the thing about this game. It's kind of open-ended. You can do a lot of things in this game. Like you can quest and stuff, or you can just follow the main story. I like to do a bit of side questing every now and again in this game. It's a bit of fun, but like I end up just exploring randomly. That's usually what I end up doing in a lot of games, just exploring randomly to see what's there, even though I've explored these areas already. It's just I'm just exploring it like randomly for no real reason. I suppose I'm going to have a look at my map and see what is there to do. Oh yeah, that's what I needed to do. I keep forgetting because I'm too busy yapping, not thinking that I need to get more items. I need to buy some more items. That's what I was going to the resistance place to get. I was getting some more items, not getting another quest. I'm just going back and forth, backwards and forwards, trying to figure out what I need to do because of short-term memory loss. Because I'm too busy yapping about something, I'm completely forgetting what I need to do in the game. But yeah, I haven't really played God of War, mainly because it focuses a lot on puzzle elements, and I'm not too keen on the puzzle elements, like from what I've seen at least. But I don't know. That's just one that I haven't played personally. Right, this is the shop that I need to go to. Right, now I need to buy tons of medium recovery items. That's what I need to do. Get tons of that. I'll get some large ones just in case for emergencies. And why not, we'll get some small ones as well. Because I keep dying and I've had to use a lot of them, so... I don't know if there's any more weapons now. No new weapons. Can I upgrade a weapon? That's another thing that I can see. Nope. I suppose I can increase my plug-in chip capacity. That's something that I can do. Like, plus 8 storage, I can do that. And... like, there's so many plug-in chips, it's like Valve Profile 2 level of equipment is this, in the sense that there's just so many things that you just lose track of what you're actually enhancing. Right, that's weapon skills, plug-in chips, here we are. Yeah, I don't really know much about God of War personally. I'm not really knowledgeable about it personally. Right, those are the ones that I have. I think I'll get some attack chips maybe. Critical, what? There was other ones that I had as well. This looks interesting, I might actually put... yeah, I'll put charge attack on, like... yeah, you can do that. I see. But you can't do it on light attacks. I thought it was Greek mythology was God of War. If I recall it was. Like, Norse mythology is... like, I like Norse mythology a lot, but I'm not big on Greek mythology. But I thought that God of War was Greek mythology, with like, people like Zeus and stuff. Maybe I was wrong, maybe I'm wrong, maybe they've changed it for the sake of it, like fuck it, we're gonna make it Norse mythology instead, because this is our work of fiction and we just want to mess around with different concepts and see what works, even if it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I haven't played God of War, and there's a lot of reasons why, and like I see from everything I've seen about it, it just seems to focus on puzzles and quick time events. That's what it seems to focus on to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it seems to be to me. But yeah. Ah, I see. So it's gonna have like Odin, Heimdall, all that lot. Thor and yeah, I see. Well, it sounds interesting, but like it's kind of a bit weird because the original game focused on like Greek gods, and now it's focused on Norse mythology. It's gonna be like a game that's just like, let's throw every mythology in the book and see what works the best. But yeah, I like myself some Norse mythology. That's why I've been playing Mount and Blade Viking Conquest recently. I'm not sure to make video footage out of it, but I've already done that before with something else, so I want to try something else with video footage. Well, that was fail. I tried to get across that. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of puzzles. I'm very impatient. Like when it comes to puzzles, just I'm not into it. Like I want to be in the action. Like when I get into a puzzle, I just get lost and I just forget what I'm doing, and that disengages me personally. It's something that I want to do. Talk about methodical and like experimental games. I need to do a video about that. I might use that film footage. I'm not sure because it shouldn't take too long to talk about it. But I'm more a fan of experimental type games. But some experimental type games have puzzles in them, so ideally my favourite kind of games are the games without any puzzles or any nonsense and have pure action, because I love pure action. I like some pure action. So yeah, those are the games I tend to like. And apparently this has puzzles, but I haven't noticed any puzzles yet, aside from that block puzzle and that like side quest, but that was an optional puzzle, so it doesn't count. It's when they force puzzles down your throat, like you have to get through this door, you have to find the key, and it's just like to make progress. And I'm just like, can I just fight stuff to make progress? I don't want to. I want to constantly make progress all the time. I don't want to have to find a key to progress through the level. Like, but that's just what it does. That's why I'm not big into it. There's a lot of reasons though, but yeah. That's pretty much the gist of it, but I like my Norse mythology though. Part of the reason why Valhalla 2 is my favourite game of all time, because the Norse mythology in that game is, obviously, that's what it focuses on. But, like, yeah, Painkiller. Painkiller's awesome, pretty much. It is the definition of what I like. Games that are just pure action, no nonsense. You go one area, you kill enemies, you go to the next area, you kill enemies. That's basically it. That's why I bring it up all the time. But there's plenty of different games that do that sort of thing. It's not like it's the only game, but Painkiller did it in a way. It's the best first-person shooter of them all, if you ask me. But there are other games that focus on action. It's like I compared Painkiller to Chaos Legion a lot of the time. That's another game that focuses 100% on the action, like, but at the same time it's a very tactical game, in the sense that it's not all about just hacking and slashing aimlessly. You have to think, but it's all out. You walk into a room and kill stuff. That's what that game is, pretty much. I talk about Chaos Legion a lot. I don't know why, but I end up talking about it a lot. It's not exactly what I would consider greatest game ever made. It's not like a masterpiece that all character action games need to live up to, but it's definitely a game that seems to be very straightforward and normal, and it has a fairly laughable storyline. Like, it's a game that I like to make fun of as much as I like to play it. Like, it's one of those games that is just so awesome. Like, the game is so awesome, but the story is so bad. But you just don't care because the game's so awesome. Like, it's literally... Like, it's just one of the most, like, I can't really explain it with words. It's one of those things that you have to experience yourself, really. I mean, that's kind of a methodical way to play games, where you have to think what the logical way is to get through things, rather than to think about the many options that you have and experimenting with them. I like the experimentation in games because I just do. I like having lots and lots of choices. Do I want to go this way or that way? Like, as I said before in the last stream, I think I said, like, Keith Bergen says that, the guy who wrote the book that I was reading, he says that puzzle games aren't actually games, they're just puzzles. Games have to have choices to be games, which I'm not in full agreement with that personally, but I would definitely say that games that have choices I favour above those that don't, personally. But I think his is what I like to call a very reckless viewpoint on the gaming industry as a whole. He's very extreme about it, let's put it that way. He's just like, this isn't a game, this isn't a game, this is. I think deep down he's just frustrated with the state of gaming, like we all are, in some cases. And I thought that was a secret path, obviously wasn't. But yeah, it's still worth a read if you are interested in gaming. That's one thing I definitely say, but I wouldn't agree with everything he says, definitely not. Like, he claims that Minecraft isn't a game, for example, because it doesn't have a goal. And because it doesn't have rules, that's what he said. He said Minecraft doesn't have rules, which is a load of bollocks. It does have rules. If you get killed by a creeper, you die. That's a rule. Like, if a game didn't have rules, you could make it up. Like, if you get killed by a creeper, you could live. Or you could actually get stronger by getting killed by a creeper. You know what I mean? So, it does have rules. Yeah, I'm just basically seeing if there's any quests to do around here. Usually is. Maybe there isn't. Maybe not. I don't know what this is. That's a quest. No, it doesn't say quest on top of the marker. I've played Hard Reset. I've got a review of it on my website. I did the review of the Hard Reset Redux. It was made by the same guys who did Painkiller as well, so Flying Wild Hog. They broke off from People Can Fly to make their own game, and it was Hard Reset. So yeah, I played that game pretty much, and my review says everything that I feel about that game pretty much. So there's no point saying anything else on it. But yeah, it is. It's definitely a game. Like, but all I can say is Hard Reset. It's definitely not Painkiller, that's for certain. It's something else. I'd say it felt more like playing Serious Sam to Painkiller personally. That's what it feels like to me. Yeah, I'm just seeing what's around here, just randomly exploring, because why the hell not? I suppose I should look at my map again, because I just don't like. I just really like to go with the flow. This is the thing about open-ended games, like. Current destination. Oh, I see. I have to go back there, don't I, and fight those freaking guys. Now I have the items, I need to fight them. Now I remember what I was doing. Let's go back. But yeah, Minecraft is definitely a game. I mean, like, he even said, people who play Minecraft are essentially making their own games. No, they're not. You're not making a game playing Minecraft, you're building a world making Minecraft, but you still aren't making a game because you're not making the rules, you're not making the mechanics. That's what making a game is. So, technically, Minecraft is a game. I don't get what you're on about with that. If you're making the rules, that's like saying D&D. Well, technically no, you're not making the rules in a way, you're just making a world in that game as well. So D&D is still a game because there's still a rule set, you're just making the world for that rule set and establishing the world in a way. And Yeah, that's why D&D is considered a game. So if Minecraft isn't a game, then technically D&D isn't a game, because in D&D you're building a world, just like Minecraft, and it feels like a completely different game each time with D&D, really. So technically he's pretty much wrong. Like, the only time you're making a game is when you're using software like RPG Maker VX or something. That's the only time you're making a game, pretty much. I thought about getting back into RPG Maker at some point, but I just can't afford it and I don't have the time for it, to be honest. But I did think about going back to it. Back to the days of, like, tinkering around with stuff and making stupid things in the game. Like, making stupid games. Pretty much. But yeah, I'm kind of past that now. But yeah, that's what making a game is, if you use that. But I'm playing through that right now. That's one of my next review projects to do, is Shadow Warrior. That's it. I won't be doing a review for it in a while, but currently the games that I'm on with at the moment are Shadow Warrior, Nier Automata, and Odin Sphere Life of a Seer, or whatever it is. Those are the 3 games that are next in line for me, pretty much. So, but I'm not going to be reviewing them anytime soon, because there's a lot to do in them, and it's about getting the time to do them, because it's difficult to find the time at the moment. Right, so I'm going back to that pipe now. That's where I need to go. So I'm going to go there and hopefully find where I was fighting those guys. That was, yeah, I suppose you could say that, but I didn't particularly like Hard Reset. I suppose that's giving it away, but I didn't really care much for it personally. Like, it was like Painkiller. Like, it was like it had problems. I suppose it wasn't all bad, but there were some frustrations I had with the game, let's put it that way, which did get on my nerves. Particularly the original Hard Reset. That game is horrendous. The Redux is a bit better though, because it added the dodge function, but there were certain points in the original which were just freaking painful to do. Like there's a boss in the game which has an attack which you basically cannot avoid. Like, especially if you're playing the original game, it's just ridiculous. But I didn't personally like it, but I didn't give it a particularly bad review. I just didn't personally enjoy it as much as I wanted to. But it wasn't all bad, I suppose. I've been playing the multiplayer Doom mainly, so I'm enjoying the multiplayer. I'll be doing some Doom videos sooner or later though, so that's one thing I can definitely say. I did a stream of Doom before. I did a Doom stream playing multiplayer, so yeah, I'll be doing more Doom multiplayer streams definitely. Because Doom is the game that I play. It's my new go-to multiplayer game now. That's what Doom is, pretty much. But it's not going to replace Painkiller in the single player. That's one thing for certain. But I like the multiplayer. And Snap Map, I want to focus on trying to get into Snap Map on Doom, but I'm not really sure how well I do on that. I have to learn a lot about it first. That's what I really want to focus on doing on Doom. But yeah, hopefully I'll get to do some snap mapping on it. But yeah, I've been playing that. I got it on PC now, so I can finally play it. And I've been playing the multiplayer because the multiplayer is really good. It has a few issues like the spawning, for example, but it's a very balanced multiplayer and really fun to do. Like, the spawning is a bit iffy, like it spawns you in random positions. But for a multiplayer game, like compared to most multiplayer games these days, it's pretty good, if you ask me. I pretty much don't hear I very rarely hear anybody play Doom, pretty much. Like, I don't exactly mute anyone, but I barely even hear people. Like, I don't know why some people even bother with voice chat. I don't usually bother anyways, because I just don't use voice chat. I just don't see the point. So, and most people who talk in it don't really say anything of value, so I'm like, okay. But I just play it just because it's good to chill to, I suppose. Good game to occupy to keep myself occupied with. And just another one of these enemies that's just gonna do the same thing over and over and over again. Should I even bother fighting these guys? I don't even see the point at this point. Like, should I just walk past them? Is that the best thing that I can do? Pretty much. Let's just walk past these guys. This guy has less health than the other guys. Like, what the hell? Like... Talk about a kind of difficulty spike in a way. Well, I won't really say difficulty spike, but it's a bit disorientating when you have enemies that have ridiculously amounts of health, and then next minute you have an enemy that's killed in seconds. Like, it makes no sense. Like, start making sense, game. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to go all Devil May Cry 2 on you and just shoot you to death. Yeah, charge attacks. That's my attempt at doing a charge attack on it. You can't, like, it's one of those games where, like, this is why I'm all for experimentation, because I don't like only having one way to beat enemies. That's why I don't like one way to overcome an obstacle and only one way. I want to have multiple methods of overcoming an obstacle in a video game. And that's part of the reason why I don't like puzzles, because there was only one method of doing it. And in this game right now versus this enemy, there's only one method of dealing with him, really. Either that, well, you can melee dodge, but it requires more effort. I'd rather just shoot to death. Yeah, I haven't played Final Fantasy 15, so I wouldn't know. Like, I stopped playing Final Fantasy after 13, pretty much. Like, that game killed it for me. Never again, I'm done. Like, screw Final Fantasy now, it's not the same. I'd rather play something else. I have a feeling that this area is a very small one. But yeah. You see where this problem is, like the lack of being able to stagger. It really is a big deal. It might not seem like a big deal in some cases, but it really is annoying. Like, this is why this game is definitely not a masterpiece. I can tell you that for one. Because the combat, that's why. It's definitely not the masterpiece people are making it out to be. I can tell you that for a fact. Because if it was, this enemy would be staggering right now and I wouldn't be slashing the air. Thankfully there's another enemy to hit with my shockwaves. I'm so glad that I added shockwave plugin because it's so needed in this game. Oh dear, looks like androids can't swim. What a pity. Yeah, my mic's starting to hurt my ear. No. God, this enemy, like, it's like fighting freaking Yearsmat or Determined Durner in Valhalla 2. Or Yearsmat in Final Fantasy 12, like, ridiculous health. At least in those games you can deal like, well, at least in Valhalla 2 you can deal like 2 million damage if you have the right setup. In this game, well, it's just, yeah. Nah, I'm not bothered about the Final Fantasy 7 remake. Like, that game's been and gone, it's had its time. Like, I don't need to play it again. I've played it. Been there, done it. You know what I mean? Not that I hate Final Fantasy 7, but it's been and gone for me. I've been there, worn the t-shirt. I don't need to wear it, don't need to play it again. Pretty much. That's my view on Final Fantasy 7. I've had my fill of it. It's been milked to death. Let's put it that way, so I've just had enough. I can safely say I've had my fill of it. Final Fantasy 7's not all bad, but it's just not as great as people make it out to be. Like, we don't need more of it, let's put it that way. We need more new things, not more old things. It doesn't surprise me that they're doing a Final Fantasy 7 remake because fans are crying out loud for it, but we just don't need it. My favourite Final Fantasy is 5. Might sound odd to most people, but it was my favourite Final Fantasy out of all of them. Mainly because it didn't take itself seriously, had funny moments, and it kind of had that feeling of adventure that a lot of them don't have because they had too melodramatic, like, the stories were way too melodramatic and over the top, whereas Final Fantasy V wasn't as melodramatic and overly serious and overly complex. It was just very straightforward, simple and fun, and it wasn't afraid to have a laugh as well. But this machine, like, come on! Like, it's taking hours to kill this thing. And it really shouldn't take this long to kill this thing. It really is starting to get on my nerves now, is this? It really is. Yeah, I like 5 the best. A lot of people like 4. I found 4 a bit too... like, it was generic, but not in the right way for me. It was like, kind of like let's make everything too serious, in a way. That's the thing I had about 4, it was a bit too serious for me. Whereas 5 was more comedic, but it also had... I also liked the world that you explored in the Final Fantasy 5 and the dungeons that you explored. They were really nice and original type dungeons for a Final Fantasy game. Like, you had a lot of interesting things in it, like bosses that actually have dialogue and stuff. Like, it was just a nice, quirky little game. It's a bit like Nier Automata in the sense that it has that quirk to it. With, like, Nier Automata has the machines, the quirky machines, and Final Fantasy V has the quirky boss fights and dungeons and character dialogue and stuff. But yeah, that's why I like 5 the best. It's definitely the one I have the most memory playing. Like, I played Final Fantasy 7 first, then I played 4, then I played 5, and 5 was definitely the best. It was the one that it's the one that I would still go back to. Out of all the Final Fantasy games, 5 is the only one that I will ever go back to, because it's definitely one of the best RPGs on the SNES, definitely. That is one thing I'll definitely say. Even though I didn't play on SNES, because it wasn't released on the SNES in my country, but it was played on, well, it was released on the PS1 for something. I got the anthology. That's what I got, and it's definitely the best, but it was released on the SNES era, so it was the best released on the SNES for me. Like, well, one of the best. There are some really good ones on the SNES, like Chrono Trigger, and, like, you've got games like Star Ocean, and Tales of Fantasia. There's a lot of great games on the SNES and RPGs, but that's one of them. I beat 7, yes, I beat it. I remember how long it took to beat 7. Like, back when it was my first and I didn't really know much about it. Like, I got stuck on the Demon Wall and I also got stuck on Hojo, but I eventually beat it after a while. Not for me. I don't like to look at favourites as the first games I play, personally. It's like, my first ever game was Pokemon Yellow, but I still don't think it's the best of the Pokemon series. The best of the Pokemon series was Gold and Silver, because it fixed all the problems that Yellow had, and it added so much great content. That's one on my top 10 as well, on my favourite games of all time, is Pokemon Gold and Silver. Like, that game's my childhood, pretty much. But yeah, a lot of people tend to put their favourite games as the first ones they played and that lot, which, I don't know, that's just, it seems a bit silly to me, but if they have nostalgia, I want more power to them, but I don't tend to look at it that way. I look at it like games that, if a game manages to surpass previous games, then yeah, I will prefer it. Currently, Valve Profile 2 stands on the top, mainly because it's just extraordinary, to me at least. But yeah, this guy is taking forever. Yeah, Diamond was where the series started to really start stagnating for me. Like, that's where it began to stagnate. Like, it's just started to become the same thing over and over and over again. Like, my second favorite Pokemon game is Pokemon Colosseum. Like, that's my second favorite Pokemon game because, oh, this is a good idea. Yeah, I should have done that before. But yeah, Pokemon Colosseum is my second favorite Pokemon game, and a lot of people don't like it because it's kind of different and it didn't have enough wild Pokemon and all that lot. But I thought it was good because it actually had a story that was different and a premise that was different. It's literally Pokemon Ghetto Edition. That's what it is. It's like Pokemon set in the 50s, in 1950s Chicago, which is filled to the brim with ghettos and dark stuff. And I thought that was pretty both hilarious and interesting at the same time. Pokemon set in a ghetto town, like a ghetto town under a ghetto town in a Pokemon game. Now that's some serious shit right there. Like, yeah, it had a ghetto town, but there's also a ghetto town underneath the ghetto town. That's how amazing that game was. It was like, it was the best concept I've ever seen ever. Like, let's take a game like Pokemon, which is like supposed to be so happy-go-lucky, and let's turn it into let's just add a bit of edge to it. Because why the fuck not? That's what Pokemon Colosseum was. Oh, whoops. It's coming a bit too close for me. And yeah, that's the problem with fighting melee. That's why I'm using guns to kill him. Because it damages me. So basically, this is how I'm dealing with these enemies. Just Devil May Cry 2 the enemies. Pretty much. Pretty much, yeah, nostalgia is powerful, but it's usually not the childhood things that I care about a lot of the time. Sometimes I do, but I find a lot of games that I played in my childhood were very generic, like very mainstream titles, and I didn't really get to experience as much as a child. Now that I've experienced more games, I feel that those games have surpassed them, and I've got new experiences. Like, I kind of just lose interest sometimes in certain games. Like, that just happens, and it happened back then, and now I'm more interested in different games and trying different things, and I'm less interested in the mainstream to what I am now. Like, I'm more interested in different games because I've been there, done that, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I had a PlayStation, but I started with the Game Boy, obviously. Then I ended up getting I had a Game Boy Color, then I got a PlayStation 1, which I've only just gotten a replacement for it because I sold my PlayStation 1 back in the day because I got a PS2 back when we sold consoles, and I actually got a good deal, kind of, and I got a PlayStation 1 with games for about 18 quid, and that was that's kind of a good deal. The only problem is that the thing that holds the game on it has kind of snapped off. It's kind of broken off. I've forgotten what the spindle. Yeah, the spindle needs repairing, but other than that, I've seen it. It does work. Like, I've seen it work. It plays Soviet Strike. I've tested it, which is a game that came with it. So yeah, I got my new game. I got and it was an original one that I've just got as well. The one that I had before was the mini version of it. Like, now I've got the original PlayStation, so it's pretty nice. Not that I need it because I have the PS2, but it's nice to have the original PlayStation. It is definitely the best looking Sony console. Why they changed every other console to just basic black bricks, I have no idea. Like, I missed the grey, like, thing with the kind of iconic, like, circular disc thingy that opened up with it. You can actually transform the pod in this game into a PlayStation. Which is pretty amusing, but I decided not to. Like, if you got the Day 1 edition, which I kind of did, even though I didn't buy it on Day 1, it was the only one on offer, so I thought, well, because I got it digitally. What do you mean by the screen? No, I didn't get the one with the screen on the fold-over screen. I just got the original PlayStation, the console. This is going to take a while, so I hope you brought popcorn. Yep. Yeah, I'm glad that I got a new PS1, the original as well this time. God, I hope those other enemies don't have the same health bar as this guy, God, that would be depressing. Like, that's how it is. Fuck my life. Seriously. Just look at this guy. He is taking ages to kill. I know I'm using guns, but if I use swords, it makes no freaking difference, because it still deals barely any damage, and that just means I have to counter him all the time, because he'll just do that spinning attack. Like, that's attacking with swords. It doesn't do enough. Yeah, so do I. Oh, crap. And if I use melee, this is basically it. So I have two choices, either fire at him or just basically constantly dodge counter fail, because I'll hit the air and it looks stupid and then I end up doing this. I suppose I can hit him at the same time, I suppose, but then I'll just do that in the air. Maybe they could have just done it where aerial counters weren't a thing, but apparently they had to do that. Like, I'm doing nothing to this guy, and I'm doing nothing to this fucking guy either. Like, it's just... There must be a problem with, like, the levels of these enemies. There must be higher level than I am, but why put higher level enemies and then low level enemies right next to them? Like, what's the point in that? Like, because there was that low level enemy, like, what the hell? Like, that makes no sense. Like, the level scaling is just nonsense. Like, I know that level scaling is seen as a bad thing, but, like, at least keep things somewhat, like, at least make sense with the levels of the enemies that you face. And, yeah, this is just ridiculous now. It's just starting to really get on my nerves how long this is taking to kill this guy. It's just, in a way, I kind of had a similar problem with Neon XSZ, in the sense that, which is an indie game by the way, in the sense that it's a game that added RPG elements for the hell of it, but it doesn't solve a problem, rather it creates a problem. Like, you don't want game elements to create problems, you want them to solve problems. That's why I say, don't try and come up with new concepts. You want to give concepts a purpose and solve a problem with those concepts. That's the problem. If you don't solve a problem, then don't come up with the ideas. Don't put an idea in the game that doesn't solve a problem. Unless it... well, if you are going to put an idea in it, consider the problems that can come with adding such an idea in the game. I'm glad that that doesn't instantly kill me. Yeah, pretty much. Now I don't even know where he is. Oh, he's over there. It's like bullet sponge machine. And it's just a tiny little machine. It's the basic machine in the game that just flails its arms at you. That's the thing that annoys me the most. Like, you'd think that this guy would die in seconds, being tiny and all that, but it takes forever to kill him. Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm doing basically nothing to him. Like, he just constantly spams the same attack as well. It's just stupid at this point now. Like, it's getting dumb. I need to heal. Look at that guy. This guy has less health. But that guy that I was fighting had ridiculous amounts of health. Well, look, he's the same level by the looks of it. I can barely read, but if you can see the levels on the screen, because I can't, because of my standard definition telly, but does that say 25 on it? Because if it does, then what the fuck? Like, because these guys say 25 on it as well. No, you can't. You have to do that on a separate playthrough, I'm afraid. No, that's on the second playthrough where you play as 9S. But at the moment, I'm just basically fighting a bunch of bullet sponges. Pretty much. And that was a waste of time. Pretty much. Definitely making the enemies last longer. of these bullet sponge enemies that they seem to be adding for no reason. Like, if you're going to add a boss fight, at least make it something original, rather than just a reskinned enemy. Oh crap. That's going to kill me, isn't it? Yep. Oh, oops, change message. This is a great impression. This is a great freaking, like, this is really leaving a good impression on me, is this. Like, it really is this battle. Like, this battle is, it's absolutely legendary, this battle. Like, I'll remember this battle when I do my review. Don't you worry about it. Like, this battle is definitely going to affect my review. It definitely is. It's going to get an honourable mention if is that battle. But back to the endless grind of knocking his health points out so that we can win the fight, and hopefully eventually we will kill them. Eventually. Yeah, pretty much. Hard Reset had a similar problem as well. Like one of the reasons why Painkiller's so good is because the enemies have very little health, and it's all about like killing enemies in one hit, but it's all about twitch reflexes. Like, you get overwhelmed by a lot of weak enemies, so you have to make sure that you kill those enemies quickly and effectively, and it's in some cases a shoot first, ask questions later type game, and that's why it works, because enemies are mostly very weak. There's a few enemies that are stronger than others, but you want to be careful about what enemies. You want to be careful when you're fighting large groups of enemies, which you will be fighting in that game a lot, as you have to pay attention to what's around you and all that lot. Yeah, that's one thing that Diablo does. Pretty much. Usually the unique enemies in Diablo 1 had a bit of health, but they didn't have that much health. Diablo 3 does have a lot more health, though, I will definitely say that. Like, God, like, they have made their enemies more into hit point sponges in Diablo 3 than they were in the others. Like, particularly in Diablo 1, like, I suppose I would just kill these guys because they're just around here. But yeah, they're artificially lengthening the game, definitely. Either that or it's just flawed design in a way that they weren't thinking about. But that's the thing, like, when you make a character action game, an RPG, that's what happens. You know what I mean? Like, I like to say the best types of RPG, like, part of the reason why I like Mount and Blade so much is because of its focus on intuition. Like, its focus is on intuitive design, like, but not with a different definition. Its focus on intuition is from the player's perspective. It requires an intuitive mindset to play that game well, because you have to focus on playing. You have to focus on different things, like, oh god, this guy's interrupting now. You have to focus on the intuitive side, like, for example, you have to know, like, pre-plan before you do to be effective enough. If you don't pre-plan, then you're going to get slaughtered. It's like, you can't just level grind to win in Mount and Blade, because it doesn't work that way. Like, if you lose troops, they are gone forever. So you have to be careful. Like, you might level up troops, but when they're dead, that troop is gone. And ultimately, your level, the player's level, doesn't make too much of a difference in the grand scale of things, because the player's level is just, it's just a case of this. You learn more skills and you get slightly stronger, and you do feel that slight strength, and it makes you stronger, but in the grand scheme of things, just because you're stronger doesn't mean that you are stronger as a whole, that you're going to win a fight, because you have to have a strong army to go with you, and that's where that game really succeeds, where a lot of other RPGs fail in that respect with leveling systems. and it's actually a challenge. Like, if you're looking for a challenging role-playing game, Mount and Blade, particularly Viking Conquest with full realism on the hard difficulty, that's the game. Definitely, that is the game that you want to play. Because it is tough as hell. Like, granted, like when you die, you don't get punished too much, but if you put the difficulty up on Mount and Blade, it gets really difficult. Like, if you put on hard difficulty or insane mode on it, don't tell me we have to kill another one of them. Like, I need to find my body first before I even think about doing anything else, and it'll probably be around here somewhere. No, that's not it. It was around here before. Don't know where it is now. It will be somewhere. Aha, there it is. It's a bit like XCOM, but yeah, it's another one of these guys, isn't it? Get ready for another painful slog. Like, come on, seriously, Platinum Games, or whoever decided to do this. Like, what is the big idea here? Like, there's things I have to do. Like, I can't just be doing this all day. Fighting the same freaking enemy all the freaking time, doing the same freaking bullshit. And, like, this is just ridiculous now. This has come to the point where it's just no longer fun. I don't know if this is a joke at the player's expense or not, but it definitely feels like it. It's like, I don't know if this guy's the same. I think he is. Yeah, he's pretty much the same. Like, I take forever to kill. Like, what is the point in all this? Like, if you want to challenge the player, don't have them just do the same thing over and over and over and over again. Like, this is just boring now. Like, this is just really boring. Oh, you can go in there, apparently. You can get an item from over there. That's interesting. I'll go and grab that item. A pearl, not bad. Oh, you can go around here. I didn't know you could. Oh, there's an item. Secret. I found the black pearl. Now my question is, when will I be able to kill these enemies? When will they finally decide to give up? Like, this is just boring now. All I'm doing is just running and shooting. That's it. That's literally what the game has come to now. Literally what the game has come to. It's just monotonous now. This is just stupid. That's what this is. It's just stupid. Oh, I'm getting shot from this thing now. But he dies quickly, so I can... And he's in the air, so it's easier to just shoot him than anything else. Come on, pick it up then. Before it disappears. But don't fall in the water. Because we don't want your parts being... Oh, it just disappeared. I don't even think changing it to easy is going to make a difference. I'm getting Tales of Exilia final boss vibes right here now. Like, the endless battle that never ends, that you end up fighting for like half an hour. Except this isn't even a boss fight, this is just a regular quest or something. I think it's attached to a quest or something, but it's stupid. That's what this is. This is just stupid. Am I even dealing damage? I can't even tell. Is it just dealing 0 damage? Now the enemy's stuck. Even better. Here we are, folks. Game of the Year material right here, folks. This is Game of the Year material. Nier Automata truly is the greatest game in 2017. This is definitely something else. Like, I'm seriously overwhelmed by how amazing this game is right now. Like, this game is serious Game of the Year material. But the people were right about this game. Like, people were right about this game being a total masterpiece. I give it 10 out of 10. Like, thanks Square Enix for giving me free game and money and donating their free cash to say that, because I wouldn't say it otherwise, because if Square Enix didn't pay me to like write my review of this game, then I wouldn't be saying that this game is a masterpiece now, would I? But it is a masterpiece because, well, Square Enix said it was a masterpiece, so yeah. Great game, I give it 10 out of 10. No, I give it 11 out of 10 because this game is so amazing that the machines, like even the smallest machines, are so heavily armoured that it adds that extra layer of challenge, you know what I mean? Like, when an enemy takes forever to kill, like, you know the game's going to be epic, because the health bars are massive. Like, the higher the health bar, the more epic the game is, that's what I say, you know? Like, when a game decides, like, you have enemies that you only kill in one hit, it's just pathetic. Like, you've got to have people with, like, 99 million health, otherwise your game is totally shit. Like, that's what you need to do. Because if you don't do that, then your game is absolute garbage. That's why Painkiller is total garbage, and that's why you should never play Painkiller, because you should play games like this where you have like enemies that just never die, because it's always fun to just shoot and just sit there. That's why everybody loved Devil May Cry 2, isn't it? Because that's exactly what you did in that game. Stand, shoot, and it's kind of relaxing in a way. You just stand and shoot, nothing's going to kill you, you just basically run around, stand and shoot. I don't think it's as... I think the Adamantized boss fight's a bit bigger than this one. I think it's on a... There's a considerable difference in size, let's put it that way. I suppose size doesn't equal strength, but damn, it's like freaking... It's like when you're fighting a freaking gnome in PvP in World of Warcraft, but that gnome player is using cheats, or has hacked their character to be invincible. It's just like, come on, how hard can it be to cut you into pieces? You are a tiny little robot who looks like you're made out of rusty metal. You should be cut to pieces in seconds. I mean, yeah, maybe not by a sword, but if I had a hammer, you'd be done. You'd be toast. Like, maybe that's why. Maybe this game's trying to be realistic. Like, realism. Like, a sword cannot cut through metal, so you have to find an alternative way. And bullets don't do very well versus metal either, as is evident. Just look at that. So you have to find an alternative route. So somehow you need to find, like, if only there was an electro driver in this game. That's what this game's missing. Like, this game is missing the electro driver. If it had an electro driver, I would give it a 12 out of 10. But unfortunately, I can only give it an 11 out of 10 because it lacks the electro driver. Like, it needs some better, more effective way of dealing with these enemies. But other than that, like, this is 10 out of 10 material. Look at how long this guy takes to kill. Like, you wouldn't think that the game was this epic, but it really is. Like, this is what I like to call the most epic boss fight in video game history right here. Like, it's just... The guy walks up to you and flails his arms. Like, he is, like, the most sinister, evil creature you will ever encounter in a video game. Like, he will just destroy you if you get too close to him. Like, he is devastating, and you really want to watch out for this guy, because just look at him. Look at how he's just running around and spinning his hands. Like, it's so threatening. Like, I'm literally shitting myself right now. Like, that's how epic this boss is. I am literally shitting myself about how incredible this enemy is. Like, I really am. Like I've fought scary boss fights before. I fought the Necro Giant in Painkiller, and I thought that was scary. But now I'm fighting this guy, and this guy's way scarier than the Necro Giant. Like I'm literally crapping my pants right now, because just look at this guy. He's got so much health, and he's flailing his arms around. Like, he could kill me in an instant just by looking at me. Just by looking at me. I'm lucky that he doesn't have eyes, because if he did, I'd be dead already. Like, fortunately, the eyes are just for show, so he doesn't look at me. He's like, this is the Chuck Norris of machines. That's what this is. Like, if this guy took one look at, if this guy had eyes, I would be dead. Like, if this guy had, like, if this guy could move faster than, like, what he's moving, if this guy could move, like, slightly faster, I'd be dead by now. Fortunately, I can run around in circles and shoot him, but, God, this guy is so threatening. I mean, Waddle Dee is less threatening than this. Like, Waddle Dee is less threatening than this. Like, when you thought that Waddle Dee was the ultimate final boss fight of the game, like, you were wrong, because this guy literally takes Waddle Dee to a whole new level, pretty much. God, this is just so annoying. Like, come on. Really, I'm gonna keep this recorded for reference so that people know how terrible this fight is. It is really bad. It really fucking is. Like, what is the point in all this? What is the point? Like, I'm just running and shooting. That is all I'm doing. That is literally all I'm doing. Like, but it's not that bad as long as the freaking health bar isn't, like, ridiculously large. But unfortunately, it is. And I'm assuming that I'm going to need to do this to accomplish a quest or something, which is really annoying. I'm going to assume that I just shoot the guy. Oh, yep. This is it. This is Nier Automata at its best, pretty much. This is Nier Automata at its best. This is the legendary Nier Automata in a nutshell, pretty much. I could just sit here and just hold the button down. Like, I don't even see the point. Like, what is the point in this? I think after I finish this guy, I'm probably going to have to end the stream. That's how freaking long this is taking to do. I mean, you could argue I hack and slash, but look at how much I have to dodge and then do that all the freaking time. Look at this, like, the same thing over and over again. It's starting to become a rhythm game now. Pretty much. This is it. This is the freaking game. This is what people paid, like, 50 quid. Like, I paid 50 quid for this game. 50 quid for this. A game where I'm fighting against somebody and doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like, it's not like Painkiller's repetition where you can actually experiment with different ways and have different enemies each time. This is just the same thing. And they're all hit point sponge enemies. So it's just so freaking boring. Give us something fun. Like, what? Whose idea was it to give this enemy so much hit points? Like, is this a bug? Is it a glitch? Is it something that needs to be patched? Because I think it is. I think this definitely needs patching, this boss. Or, I assume it's a boss. It might be a regular enemy that's just bugged and broken and just needs patching because it hasn't got... They gave him too many health than they needed to give. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe the parameters are all wrong. Maybe this guy wasn't supposed to be this strong. I mean, that guy's just stood there over there, like, he's just not even interested anymore. It's just this little tiny guy. Like, I just killed his brother, and now I have to kill him. And it's taking half an hour to kill his brother, so I'm assuming that it's going to take half an hour to kill him as well. Pretty much. Well, maybe not half an hour, but maybe so. I don't know. I haven't been keeping track of the time, but it's nearly 3 hours long, this stream, so I'm going to end it after this fucking fight. Like, it's just dumb. It's just fucking dumb. Like, this is why this game is not Game of the Year, people. This is why it's not Game of the Year, and it never will be Game of the Year. Unless, like, it might be Game of the Year, depending. It depends on what comes out later. Like, depends on a lot of things. Like, if there's no other games out this year that I consider to be half decent, this will be Game of the Year for me, probably, because it's the only game that I'll be playing. But that's not to discredit other games, I suppose, but as far as my Game of the Year, it might be, but only if there's nothing else. Because this game is... yeah. I think we found the big issue with this game now. I thought I just saw an enemy just going around there, but look. This is just so dumb. Like, I feel dumber for having fought this guy. Like, I feel like I've lost a brain cell having fought this guy. Like, I just don't really have anything else to offer. What can I talk about in this? Like, what else can I say about this fight? Like, it's just me running and shooting. I think... well... I suppose I'll just talk about the games that I got on my PlayStation 1. Just let's talk about something while we do this. So, basically, I got my new PlayStation 1. I got a few games with it. I got, Soviet Strike, which is apparently from the EA, which doesn't matter to me because I bought it second hand. It's like a game where you control a helicopter and shoot things, pretty much. I also got a, and this is the thing, like, I got, like, there was tons and tons of copied games in there, like, tons of them, and none of them even work. Don't understand what that's about. And then there's, like, I got a box for Colin McRae Rally, and the game wasn't even in it. So basically I got an empty box, and I got a Hercules game, which came with a demo in it. I don't know why, the box was like a Hercules game, but it didn't come with a Hercules game, and it said it came with a demo. That doesn't seem to, I don't know. But then I got the, there are some good games that I got in it though. I got some games in it. I got Speedball 2001, I think, or something like that. I got this game called Speedball. I got a game called, I don't know what it was called, Engine Racing. That game seems pretty cool. I might do a video on it. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Might not, but it seems pretty cool. It's like a racing game where you race with planes. That's part of the reason why I got it in the first place. Like, you know, it seems pretty cool. I'm glad to have it. There seems to be a lot to like about it. And then I did get Colin McRae Rally 2.0, which came with a mountain biking game as well. So it's not like I don't get Colin McRae Rally out of it. It just means that I got the second one apparently. So yeah, that's basically the gist of it. And other than that, yeah, that's basically what I got with my PS1. And yeah, there's not a lot else to say other than the fact that I need to get my need to get screen capping sometime soon. That's one thing I definitely need to do. I need to get some screen capping, and that's always a pain. And in case you're wondering why I haven't been doing much on the Cynical Gaming blog, that's probably why. The screen capping. I have stuff written up, it's just that the screen caps I need to freaking do more screen caps for stuff, and yeah, it takes time to do screen caps. So yeah. Anything else that I can think of? Like, as I say, I've been playing Mountain Blade Viking Conquest as well, but yeah. Like, I suppose I'll talk about what I'd like to see in a Mount and Blade Warcraft game. Let's talk about that. So, I think, like, because the people that seem to be making the mod, I think the best thing for them to do is to focus on the first war first, make a module based on the first war, and just basically make all of the human kingdoms war against each other, because there wasn't an alliance back in the first war, and just start off with like basic human kingdoms and orc clans and have them all like hostile kind of with each other. You could argue, I don't know, like maybe have alliances, I don't know. But like have an alliance between each other at the start, but maybe have the ability to unally them later and war against one another, which would be fun. That's one way you could do about it, that you could do it. And in addition, like the troop trees, you can have like start off with peasants and peons, then you can go into militia for like the second troop trees, and then you can like choose between, like humans have crossbowmen, kind of like archers, but they're like real crossbows. So you can have like human crossbow archers, and like orc skirmishers, like orc spearmen, like who throw spears. And then on the melee side you have footmen and you have grunts, and then you have like after that, I'd say that the spear throwers and the like archers, they would just either stay the same or they'd have heavy variants or something, and then once you've got that, you've got the orcs who have the footmen, and they would upgrade themselves to either raiders or like blade masters, which would be like the highest rank. And after that, like, and as for human, they basically upgrade to knights or captains, like the captain unit in Warcraft 3 basically, which would basically be a stronger version of the footman. That's what I think they should do for starters, and just have the usual start kind of. I think that's the best way to start off with, but ultimately I would love to see like plenty of races to play as. You can scale them down if like I don't mind them scaling like the big like demons down, because I want to see demons in it, like the freaking dreadlords. I want the dreadlords in it definitely. Like I want the Eredar in it, maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're a bit overkill, but I'm not asking to say players kill Jaden and just storm everybody with meteorites or whatever the hell he uses. What I mean to say is like just have some sort of demons that you can play as, or like players undead and the Scourge, and players Burning Legion, and have those factions in it. That's what I'd want in the third war if you did a module for that. Like that would be great, pretty much. That's to someone who decides to make a Mount and Blade mod for Warcraft. I think he's dead. I think he's finally dead. So, well, I think I'm gonna just call it a stream, to be honest, because this has just gone on forever. That guy seems to have a problem with the skyscraper. I don't know what he's doing, but he also seems to have a problem with me, so I'm going to keep out of his way. But yeah, I think I'm going to call this a stream, guys. So yeah, thanks for coming along, thanks for watching and stuff, thanks for the discussions. As I'll be going off soon. Well, now. Quick save. Because, yeah, this has just gone on for too long, so thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.